Hey guys, tonight we're going to walk through the gates of a medieval city, but we aren't going to the version you see in movies, where everyone has perfect teeth, the streets are swept clean, and the tavern keeper gives you a quest. No, we're going to the real thing. A place where the mud is deep, the smells are aggressive, and silence is a luxury you can't afford. A place where just getting a glass of water without getting sick is a daily strategic victory. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Congratulations! You've just woken up in the year 1348. You're in a city that is technically thriving, but from where you are lying it feels more like it's just surviving. The first thing you notice isn't the light, because there isn't much of that yet. It's the temperature. The air inside your room is damp, heavy, and bitingly cold. You aren't in a stone castle with tapestries on the walls to keep the heat in. You're in a timber-framed tenement house, leaning precariously over a narrow street that hasn't seen direct sunlight in 3 centuries. Your bed is not a mattress, it is a sack. Specifically, a sack stuffed with straw that was fresh maybe 2 months ago. Now, it has been crushed into a lumpy, shifting landscape that smells faintly of old grass and dust. As you try to roll over, you hear the distinct crunch of the straw beneath you, and you feel the sharp poke of a stalk through the thin linen sheet. You aren't alone in the bed either. In the medieval city, privacy is a concept that hasn't really been invented yet. You're likely sharing this mattress with a sibling, a spouse, or maybe just the cold draft that seeps through the unglazed window shutter. You lie there for a moment, trying to muster the will to push back the heavy wool blanket. This blanket is your lifeline. It's scratchy, it's heavy, and it smells like lanolin and wood smoke, but it is the only thing trapping your body heat against the morning chill. The air in the room is thick, it tastes of soot. That's because the fire in the central hearth downstairs was banked overnight, covered in ash to keep the embers alive, but the smoke has nowhere to go but up, drifting through the floorboards and hanging in the rafters. Eventually you have to move. You slide your legs out from under the wool and your feet hit the floor. It's dirt or maybe old floorboards covered in rushes, dried reeds scattered to catch the dirt. They were probably changed last season, which means they are currently hiding a multitude of sins. Dropped food, mud tracked in from the street, and the general detritus of living. The floor is freezing. It sends a shock up your legs that makes your teeth chatter before you've even stood up fully. You fumble for your tunic in the half-light. There are no closets here, no wardrobes bursting with options. You have 2 sets of clothes, the ones you're wearing, and the ones you might wear on Sunday if the weather holds. You pull on a linen under-tunic that feels stiff with cold, followed by a wool over-tunic that itches immediately. The wool is coarse, woven tight to keep out the wind, but against your skin it feels like a mild abrasive. You tie a belt around your waist, not for fashion, but to hold everything together and to give you somewhere to hang your pouch, because pockets are a luxury you don't have. Now comes the first major hurdle of the day. Nature calls. In a modern home, this is a thoughtless walk down the hall. In a medieval city tenement, it is a logistical nightmare. You look to the corner of the room where the chamber pot sits. It's a simple ceramic vessel, and it has been sitting there all night. The smell coming from that corner is sharp and ammonia-heavy, cutting through the wood smoke. You have a choice now. You can use it and add to the problem, or you can try to make it to the public latrine down the street. But looking at the shuttered window, hearing the wind rattle the loose latch, you know you aren't going outside yet. The streets are dark and medieval cities don't have streetlights. Walking to a latrine in the dark is a good way to step in something terrible, or get robbed, or fall into a ditch. So, the chamber pot it is. You do your business as quietly as possible, trying to ignore the indignity of it, trying to ignore the fact that 3 other people are sleeping 5 feet away. This is intimacy, medieval style. It's not romantic. It's just crowded. Once you're dressed and dealing with the reality of the morning, you head downstairs. The stairs are steep, more like a ladder than a staircase, and they creak loudly enough to wake the dead. You step into the main room, the hall. This is where everything happens, cooking, eating, working, arguing. The embers in the hearth are glowing a dull, angry red under the grey ash. You grab an iron poker and stir them, feeding in a few twigs and a small log of precious firewood. Wood costs money. You don't burn it for ambience, you burn it to survive. Smoke immediately billows out, stinging your eyes. Chimneys exist, but they are efficient only in the homes of the wealthy. Here, the smoke lazily drifts toward a hole in the roof or out the windows, but most of it seems to prefer staying right at eye level. You cough, a wet, rattling cough that everyone in the city seems to have during the winter months. It's the city cough, a permanent irritation from breathing smoke, dust, and damp air 24 hours a day. Breakfast, if you can call it that. You're hungry, a gnawing, hollow feeling in your stomach that never really goes away. But there is no bacon frying, no eggs scrambling. There is bread, always bread. You go to the wooden chest where the loaf is kept, wrapped in a cloth to keep the mice out. You pull it out. It's a round, dense loaf of maslin bread, a mix of rye and wheat. It's dark, heavy as a brick, and about 2 days old. You take a knife from your belt. Everyone carries their own knife. It's your primary tool for eating and working, and you saw off a chunk. The crust is hard enough to bruise your gums. The inside is chewy and tastes faintly of yeast and earth. It's not bad, honestly. It's filling, but it's dry. You need to wash it down. You look at the water bucket near the door. There is a skim of ice on top, but you don't drink the water, not straight. You know better. The water in the city comes from wells that sit uncomfortably close to the cesspits, or from the river where the tanners dump their chemicals and the butchers dump their waste. Instead, you reach for a jug of small beer. This isn't the alcohol you know today. It's weak, cloudy, and barely fermented, but the brewing process involved boiling the water, which makes it safer than the well. Even the children drink it. It tastes sour, a little yeasty, and flat. You dip your hard bread into the ale to soften it, letting the liquid soak into the dense crumb until it's chewable. This is your morning fuel, bread and weak beer. It sits heavy in your stomach, a caloric anchor to keep you from blowing away in the wind. As you chew, you hear the city waking up outside. It doesn't wake up gently, it explodes. The first sound is the church bells. They ring incessantly, marking the hours, the services, the feasts, the warnings. They are the timekeepers of your life. Then comes the shouting, hawkers crying out their wares, trying to beat the competition. Hot pies, fresh herring, rushes, green rushes. Their voices overlap into a chaotic drone. Then the rumble of cart wheels on cobblestones, a bone-shaking clatter that vibrates through the soles of your feet, even inside the house. You wipe the crumbs from your mouth, take one last swig of ale, and brace yourself. It's time to go to work. You unbar the heavy wooden door and push it open. The smell hits you first. It is a physical wall of odour. If you thought the chamber pot was bad, the street is a symphony of stench. It's a mixture of wood smoke, unwashed bodies, roasting meat, animal dung, and the open gutters that run down the centre of the street, carrying a sludge of wastewater and filth. It catches in the back of your throat, it coats your tongue, but you don't gag, you're used to it. This is just what air smells like. It's the scent of humanity packed too close together. You step out, careful not to place your foot in a puddle of questionable origin. The street is narrow, overshadowed by the upper stories of the houses that jut out, almost touching in the middle. This creates a permanent twilight in the alley, tunnel of shadow. The ground is a mixture of mud and cobblestones, slick with morning dew and slime. You keep your head down, watching your step, dodging a pig that is rooting happily in a pile of refuse near your neighbour's door. Yes, pigs roam the streets freely. They are the city's garbage disposal units, eating the trash and turning it into bacon. It's efficient if you don't mind sharing the sidewalk with a 200-pound animal that might bite your ankle. You're heading to the market. Your job today, like every day, is to survive, to work, to earn enough coin to buy tomorrow's bread. You merge into the crowd, and what a crowd it is. People are everywhere. There is no concept of personal space here. You're shoulder to shoulder with a monk in rough wool, a merchant in bright velvet, a beggar showing his sores for pity, and a servant girl carrying a basket of eels. Everyone is pushing, shoving, moving with a desperate energy. The noise is deafening. Metal on metal from the smithy. The bleating of sheep being driven to the butcher. The shouting of a man whose cart is stuck in the mud. It's overwhelming, a sensory assault that never stops. You keep your hand on your belt pouch, eyes scanning the crowd. Cut purses are everywhere, looking for a moment of distraction. In this crush, a purse can disappear in the blink of an eye, and with it, your ability to eat for the week. You navigate the chaos, moving toward the centre of town. The buildings get taller here, more impressive. You pass a stone church, its stained glass dark from the outside, a fortress of silence amidst the noise. You pass the Guildhall, where the wealthy merchants set the prices and the rules, and everywhere you see the signs of a life lived on the edge. The buildings are patched and repatched. The people are scarred, pockmarks from smallpox, missing teeth, limbs twisted by badly set bones. This is a world without modern medicine, where a minor injury can become a life sentence. But you don't stop to pity them. You can't. You have your own struggles. You reach the market square, the beating heart of the city. Here the smell of rot is replaced briefly by the smell of roasting meat and spices, expensive spices that make your nose twitch. Saffron, cloves, pepper, smells you can't afford but love to inhale. You pause for a second, taking it all in. This is your world. It is dirty, it is dangerous, it is loud, and it smells terrible. But it is also alive in a way that is hard to describe. It is a machine of human survival, grinding on day after day, and you are just one small cog in it, trying to keep turning. You've survived the morning crush, navigated the treacherous streets, and planted your feet on the cobblestones of the market square. The square is vast, an open space carved out of the dense urban jungle, and right now it is chaos incarnate. If the alleyways were a stream of humanity, the market is the ocean where all the currents collide. Stalls are jammed together, flimsy wooden structures covered in canvas or thatch, each one overflowing with goods. To your left, a fishmonger is shouting about herring. The fish are laid out on a wooden slab, glistening and grey, their eyes staring blankly at the sky. The smell is intense. Salt, brine, and the unmistakable tang of fish that has been out of the water just a little too long. Flies buzz in thick clouds, landing on the fish, the counter, the monger's hands. He waves them away casually, as if they are just part of the scenery. Next to him, a woman is selling cloth, wool, linen, hemp. The fabrics are rough, dyed in muted earth tones, madder red, woad blue, walnut brown. Bright colours are for the rich. You live in a world of beige and brown. You run your hand over a bolt of wool. It's oily with natural lanolin, heavy and scratchy. It would keep the rain out, but it would also chafe your neck raw. You move on. You aren't here for clothes today. You're here for food. Real food. Not just the bread you had for breakfast, but something to put in the pot for tonight. You head toward the vegetable sellers. They are mostly women, sitting on low stools behind baskets of produce brought in from the countryside this morning. Turnips, onions, leeks, cabbage. These are the staples of your life. You don't see tomatoes, potatoes, or corn. Those are in a whole different hemisphere waiting to be discovered. Here it's root vegetables and greens. You spot a pile of onions. They look small and knobbly, still covered in dirt. You pick one up, squeezing it to check for rot. It's firm. Good. You haggle with the woman. Haggling isn't optional, it's a social requirement. If you just paid the first price, she'd think you were a fool or a thief trying to get rid of stolen coin quickly. 2 pennies, she says, not even looking at you. 2? For these runts? You scoff, tossing the onion back onto the pile. I'll give you a half-penny for the lot. She feigns outrage. You feign disinterest. It's a dance. Eventually you settle on a penny for a bundle of onions and a head of cabbage that has seen better days. You tuck them into your pouch, feeling the satisfying weight of dinner secured. But as you turn away, a commotion erupts near the centre of the square. A cart has overturned. It was carrying barrels of ale, and one has burst open, spilling amber liquid across the stones. The smell of yeast and alcohol hits you instantly. People swarm toward it. Some trying to help the driver, others trying to scoop up the beer in cupped hands or hats. It's a moment of pure medieval opportunism. Waste nothing. You steer clear. Getting caught in a mob is a good way to lose your onions or get a rib broken. Instead, you drift toward the edge of the square where the craftsmen have their workshops open to the street. This is the noisy part of town. A blacksmith is hammering a piece of red-hot iron on an anvil. Clang, clang, clang. The rhythm is hypnotic. Sparks fly into the street, sizzling as they hit the damp mud. The heat radiating from the forge is intense, a blast of dry warmth that feels amazing against the damp chill of the morning. You linger for a moment, just soaking it up. Next door is a tanner, and if the blacksmith's shop smells like fire, the tanner's shop smells like death. Tanning leather involves soaking animal hides in a mixture of urine and dog feces to soften them. The stench is eye-watering, a chemical burn in your nostrils. The tanner himself is immune to it, his arms stained brown to the elbows, scraping hair off a cowhide with a dull knife. You hold your breath and walk faster. You are looking for work. In the medieval city, unless you're a master craftsman or a merchant, you are likely a day labourer. You sell your muscle by the hour. You head to the hiring corner, a specific spot near the church where men gather to be picked for crews. It's crowded today. Men stand in clumps, stamping their feet to stay warm, breathing into their cupped hands. They look tired. Their clothes are patched, their faces lined with dirt and exhaustion. You join them, trying to look strong, trying to look like you ate a better breakfast than you actually did. A man in a velvet doublet walks up, a steward from a wealthy house, or maybe a guild foreman. He points a gloved finger. You, and you. He picks the biggest men. You hold your breath, puffing out your chest. His eyes slide over you, then pause. You too. We need someone small to fit in the crawl space. It's not a compliment, but it's work. You nod and step forward. Building site, the foreman grunts. Hauling stone, 2 pennies for the day, no lunch. You follow him. 2 pennies? It's not much, but it will buy more bread and maybe a piece of cheese. The building site is a few streets away. It's a new merchant's house being built, a 3-story timber frame rising out of the mud. The skeleton of the house is already up, massive oak beams joined with wooden pegs. Your job is to haul baskets of stones for the foundation of the cellar. The stones are heavy, rough-hewn flint and limestone. You fill a wicker basket, hoist it onto your shoulder, and trudge through the mud to the pit. It's back-breaking work. Your shoulder aches immediately. The rough wicker digs into your neck. The mud sucks at your boots, trying to pull them off with every step. You work for hours. The sun climbs higher, but down in the narrow street it stays grey and dim. Sweat soaks your wool tunic, turning cold and clammy against your skin whenever you stop moving. You can feel the grit of stone dust in your teeth. Around noon, a bell rings. The foreman yells, "Break!" You drop your basket and collapse onto a pile of timber. Your muscles are trembling. You pull out your water skin, filled with small beer, of course, and take a long drink. It's warm now, but the liquid helps wash the dust from your throat. You see the other men eating. One has a meat pie, and you watch with envy as he bites into it, grease running down his chin. Another is gnawing on a dried apple. You have nothing. Lunch wasn't part of the deal, and you didn't bring anything. You just sit there, conserving energy, listening to the sounds of the city. A group of monks walks past, chanting softly, their sandals slapping on the stones. They look well fed, their round faces smooth and pink. You feel a flicker of resentment. They pray, you work, they eat, you starve. It's the way of the world. Then, a scream, high-pitched and terrifying. It comes from the next street over. The men around you stiffen, the chewing stops. "Fire," someone whispers. In a medieval city, fire is the ultimate predator. The houses are wood, the roofs are thatch, and everything is packed tinder dry. A fire doesn't just burn a house, it eats a neighbourhood. You stand up, looking toward the sound. You can see a thin tendril of black smoke rising above the rooftops. "Bucket chain," the foreman roars, "move!" You don't argue, you run. In this world, there is no fire department. There is only you and your neighbours. If you don't put it out, your job burns, and maybe your home too. You reach the corner and see it. A bakery is smoking, flames licking out of the upper window. The baker is in the street wailing, his face black with soot. People are already forming a line from the nearest well. Someone shoves a leather bucket into your hands. It's heavy, sloshing with water. You pass it to the man on your left, turn, grab the next one. Pass, turn, grab. Your arms scream in protest. The muscles already exhausted from hauling stone. The heat is intense. You can feel it on your face from 50 feet away. The roar of the fire drowns out the shouting. Sparks drift down like deadly snow, landing on the thatched roofs of the neighbouring houses. People are scrambling up ladders with wet blankets, trying to smother the sparks before they catch. It's chaotic, terrifying, and exhilarating. For a moment, the strict hierarchy of the city dissolves. The merchant is passing buckets next to the beggar. The foreman is shouting orders alongside the priest. Everyone is united by a single primal fear. You work until your arms are numb. The fire rages, consuming the roof of the bakery, collapsing inward with a crash that sends a plume of sparks into the sky. But the line holds. The water keeps coming. The neighbours on either side soak their walls, creating a fire break. Slowly, agonizingly, the flames die down. The roar fades to a hiss. The smoke turns from black to grey. It's over. The bakery is gone, a charred skeleton of timbers, but the block is saved. You drop your arms, gasping for air. You're soaked, covered in soot, and shaking with adrenaline. The foreman finds you in the crowd. "Back to work," he barks. "Stone doesn't move itself." You stare at him. He's right. The fire is out. The danger has passed. The city doesn't stop to mourn a bakery. It just grinds on. You trudge back to the building site, your wet clothes clinging to you, chilling you to the bone. You pick up the basket. You fill it with stones. You hoist it onto your bruised shoulder. Survival isn't a victory here. It's just the ability to keep working. The afternoon drags on, an endless cycle of lift, carry, dump. Your mind goes blank, retreating into a rhythm to escape the pain. You think about the onions in your pouch. You think about the fire. You think about the straw mattress waiting for you. Finally, the evening bell tolls. The light is failing, the shadow stretching long and deep across the mud. "Done," the foreman says. He hands you 2 copper coins. They are thin, battered and greasy. You clutch them tight. 2 pennies. It's enough. You survived the day. You earned your keep. But now comes the hardest part. The night. The city changes when the sun goes down. The noise fades, but the danger rises. The shadows between the houses seem to deepen, hiding things you don't want to meet. You start the walk home, keeping your hand on your knife. You're tired, you're dirty, and you are hungry, but you're alive. And in a medieval city, that is the only metric that matters. The sun has dipped below the jagged skyline of rooftops, and the city is transforming. It doesn't happen all at once. It's a slow, creeping change, like ink spilling into water. The vibrant, shouting chaos of the market fades into a murky, suspicious quiet. Lanterns begin to flicker in windows, tiny orange eyes watching the street. But there are no street lamps. Once the daylight is gone, the streets belong to the dark. You clutch your 2 pennies in your fist inside your pouch. You don't let go. To you, this is dinner. To someone else, it's a reason to slip a knife between your ribs. You walk quickly, sticking to the centre of the lane where the mud is deepest but the shadows are thinnest. You avoid the corners. You avoid the alley mouths that look like black caves. The air has changed too. The smell of roasting meat and commerce is gone, replaced by the rising damp of the river and the sharper, acrid scent of wood smoke banking down for the night. And the sewage. The cold night air seems to trap the stench of the gutters, holding it close to the ground. You breathe through your mouth, tasting the metallic tang of the city. You pass a tavern. The door is open, spilling yellow light and noise onto the street. Inside, men are drinking, gambling, arguing. It looks warm. It smells of roasted onions and ale. You hesitate. 1 penny could buy a seat near the fire and a cup of something strong enough to make you forget your aching shoulder. But no. You have onions. You have cabbage. You need to save the coin. Winter is coming, and pennies don't grow on the muddy trees of London. You keep walking. The sound of your own boots squelching in the mud seems incredibly loud. Squelch. Squelch. You try to step lighter. You hear a rustle ahead. A rat, the size of a small cat, skitters across your path and vanishes into a hole in a wall. The rats are bold here. They know they outnumber you. They are the true citizens. You're just renting space in their kingdom. Suddenly, footsteps behind you. Not the rhythmic plod of a worker, but the quick, light step of someone hunting. You don't turn around. You just walk faster. The footsteps speed up. Your heart hammers against your ribs. You grip the handle of your knife. This is it. The nightly gamble. You reach a corner and take it sharp, ducking into the shadow of a church buttress. You hold your breath. The footsteps hurry past, fading into the dark. Just a courier? A thief chasing someone else? It doesn't matter. You survive the encounter. You exhale, your breath a white cloud in the gloom. Finally you see it. Your tenement. It leans over the street like a tired old man, its timber frame warped and grey. It's ugly, it's drafty, and it's home. You push open the heavy door and step into the ground floor hallway. It's pitch black in here, and the smell of unwashed bodies is intensified by the enclosed space. You feel your way to the stairs, counting the steps in your head so you don't trip on the broken one. 7, 8, skip 9, 10. You reach your room. You push the door open, and the familiar scent of home greets you. Soot, straw, and stale air. It's freezing inside, but it's out of the wind. You bolt the door behind you. That bolt is the most important piece of iron you own. You move to the hearth. The fire is dead, just a pile of cold grey ash. You have to restart it. You fumble for your flint and steel in the dark, your fingers numb and clumsy. Strike. Spark. Nothing. You curse softly. Strike. Spark. Catch. A tiny glow in the tinder. You blow on it gently, feeding it dried moss and small twigs. It flares up, casting long, dancing shadows on the walls. Now, dinner? You pull the onions and the sad cabbage from your pouch. You have a small iron pot. You fill it with water from the bucket, breaking the ice again, and set it near the flames. You chop the vegetables with your belt knife. It's not a gourmet meal. It's basically hot vegetable water. But when you toss in a chunk of the hard bread from this morning, it thickens up. You sit on the floor, wrapping your cloak around you, waiting for the water to boil. This is your leisure time. No books, no music, just the fire and the waiting. You stare into the flames, letting your mind drift. You think about the fire at the bakery today. You wonder if the baker lost everything. You wonder if he'll be begging in the market tomorrow. It's a thin line. The soup bubbles. You take it off the heat and eat it straight from the pot with a wooden spoon. It's hot, salty, and tastes like onion. It's the best thing you've ever tasted. You scrape the bottom, getting every drop. The warmth spreads from your stomach to your fingers and toes. The shivering stops. You have 1 penny left. You tuck it into a crack in the wall behind a loose board. Your savings. Now sleep. The fire is dying down again. You bank the coals, covering them carefully. Darkness returns, absolute and heavy. You crawl back onto the straw mattress. It's still lumpy. It still smells. But your body is so exhausted that it feels like a cloud. You pull the scratchy wool blanket up to your chin. You can hear the city settling down. The shouting has stopped. The carts are gone. Now, there are different sounds. The scuffling of rats in the thatch overhead, the cough of the sick neighbour through the wall, the distant mournful toll of a bell marking the hour. You close your eyes. You survived the cold morning. You survived the brutal work. You survived the fire. You survived the walk home. You are safe, for now. But as you drift off, a new sound cuts through the night. A low, rhythmic rumbling. It's not thunder. It's not a cart. It's coming from the direction of the city gates. Drums. You open your eyes, staring into the dark. Drums at night usually mean one thing in a medieval city. An army's approaching, or the king has died, or a plague quarantine has been declared. You listen. The rhythm is slow, heavy. Boom, boom, boom. It gets louder. It's moving through the streets. You realise with a jolt what it is. It's the night watch, but they aren't alone. They are shouting something. Bring out your dead. The plague cart, you freeze. The plague hasn't been in the city for years, or so everyone thought, but rumours have been flying for weeks. Whispers of swellings, of black boils, of people dropping dead in the Tanners district. You hold your breath, listening to the cart rumble closer. The wooden wheels grind on the stones. The driver's voice is flat, bored, terrifying. Bring out your dead! It stops outside your building. You hear the heavy thud of the front door downstairs. Voices, low, urgent arguing. Then the sound of something heavy being dragged across the floorboards. A woman sobbing. The front door slams. The cart rumbles on. Boom! 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 You lie there, your heart pounding against your ribs like a trapped bird. It's here. The Black Death. It's in your building. The cold you feel now has nothing to do with the temperature. It's the icy grip of fear. You pull the blanket over your head, as if wool can stop a microscopic killer. You try to make yourself small. You try not to breathe too deeply. Tomorrow, the market will be different. Tomorrow, people won't be looking at the fish or the cloth. They will be looking at each other, searching for the signs. A flushed face, a stumble, a swelling on the neck. Tomorrow, the survival game changes. It's not just about food and work anymore. Now, it's a lottery. You close your eyes tight, trying to block out the sound of the cart fading into the distance. You have to sleep. You need strength, because tomorrow you have to wake up and walk back out into that city. And this time, the danger isn't just a thief in the shadows. It's in the air itself. This is the reality of the night. It's not peaceful. It's a siege. You're under siege by the cold, by the dark, by the rats, and now by the plague, and the only weapon you have is to wake up. The night passes in fits and starts, a restless fever dream of cartwheels and hushed voices. But morning, as always, is indifferent to your fear. It arrives not with a burst of hope, but with a grey, sullen light leaking through the cracks in your shutter. You wake up, and for a second you forget. You think about the cold, the hunger. Then the memory of the cart hits you. Bring out your dead. You lie still, listening. The building is unusually quiet. Normally by now there would be the sound of arguments, of doors slamming, of life being lived loudly. Today, silence hangs in the hallway like a heavy curtain. You get up. The routine is the same, but it feels heavier. Tunic, belt, boots. You skip the chamber pot this time. You don't want to stay in the room a second longer than necessary. You need to get out, get fresh air, see if the world has ended. You open your door and step into the hall. It's empty, but there is a smell. It's faint, sweet and sickly, sitting underneath the usual odours of wood smoke and unwashed bodies. It's the smell of sickness. You pull your collar up over your nose and mouth. It's a superstitious gesture. Medieval medical theory says bad smells cause disease, but it makes you feel slightly safer. You descend the stairs. On the landing of the second floor you see a mark on a door, a cross painted in rough red ochre. It wasn't there yesterday. You stop. Your breath catches. That's the house where the woman was sobbing last night. The cross means quarantine. It means everyone inside is locked in until they either recover or die, and mostly they die. You hurry past, taking the stairs two at a time, desperate to reach the street. Outside, the city is awake, but it's different. The frantic energy of yesterday is gone. People are moving, but they are moving carefully. They give each other a wide berth. No one is pushing or shoving. The usual morning greetings are replaced by suspicious glances. You head toward the market, but you take a different route, avoiding the narrowest alleys where you might brush against someone. You stick to the wider streets, walking down the middle, dodging the muck. You see a priest walking toward you, ringing a small bell. He's wearing a heavy cloak and a cloth mask over his mouth. He is heading toward the tenement you just left. You cross the street to avoid him. Even the holy men are terrifying now. They are the harbingers of the end. You reach the hiring corner. The crowd is smaller today. Maybe half the men are missing. Are they sick, or are they just hiding? The men who are there stand further apart, their faces grim. The foreman from yesterday isn't there. Instead, a different man is hiring. He looks nervous, his eyes darting around. "Grave diggers," he shouts. "We need diggers. 5 pennies a day." 5 pennies. That is a fortune. That is meat pie money. That is new boots money. But you know what the job entails. Digging the pits outside the city walls, handling the bodies, breathing the air of the dead. The men around you hesitate. Some step forward, desperation winning over fear. Hunger is a powerful motivator. You stay back. You can't do it. You'd rather starve than touch the plague. "Anyone else?" the man yells. "Building crew? No, just diggers today." There is no building work. The city has paused. Construction stops when the dying starts. You turn away. No work means no money. No money means no food. You have 1 penny left in your wall, but that won't last long. You need a plan. You wander toward the river. The docks are usually bustling, ships unloading wine and wool. Maybe there is work there. The River Thames is grey and churning, swollen with recent rains. The ships are there, masts foresting the waterline, but they aren't unloading. They are waiting. The port authorities have stopped ships from docking. Quarantine. Sailors lean over the rails, shouting at the dock workers, demanding to come ashore. The workers shout back, telling them to stay put. It's a standoff. You see a group of men loading a small barge with crates. They aren't wearing the uniform of the guild. They look rough, quick, smugglers. In times of plague, the black market explodes. If the official channels close, the unofficial ones open wide. You approach cautiously. One of the men, a burly giant with a scarred nose, spots you. "Looking for work, lad?" You nod. "Can you row?" "Yes." "Get in. We're moving grain downriver. Don't ask where it came from." You climb into the barge. It's hard work, dangerous work and illegal work, but it's not grave digging. You spend the day on the river, rowing until your palms blister. The damp cold from the water seeps into your bones, deeper than the wind ever could. You move crates of grain from a ship anchored midstream to a hidden dock in Suffolk. The grain is likely stolen or diverted from the official stores, but you don't care. The river gives you a different view of the city. From here, you can see the smoke rising from hundreds of chimneys, blending into a low grey blanket over the rooftops. You can hear the bells tolling, more frequent now, and you see the bodies. Not many, but a few. Bloated shapes floating in the reeds near the bank, caught in the muck. People who died and were thrown in the river to avoid the fees of burial, or maybe just because there was no one left to bury them. You keep your eyes on the oar. Pull, pull, pull. By evening, your back is screaming in agony. The smuggler tosses you 4 pennies. 4 is more than you've ever earned in a day. Come back tomorrow, he says, if you're still standing. You nod and scramble onto the dock. You're rich, relatively speaking, but you are also terrified. You spent the day with strangers, breathing their air, touching the same crates. Did the smuggler look flushed? Did he cough? You can't remember. Paranoia is setting in. You walk back toward the city gates. They are closing them early. The guards are checking people looking for signs of sickness. A woman is arguing with a guard, showing him her arms, trying to prove she's clean. He pushes her back with a pike. Gates closed. Find shelter outside. You slip through just in time, flashing your coins as a bribe you didn't have to pay, but wanted to show you belonged. The streets are empty. The curfew has been sounded. Anyone out now is assumed to be a thief or a corpse. You run back to your tenement. The red cross on the second-floor door seems to glow in the dark hallway. You hold your breath and sprint up the stairs to your room. You bolt the door. You restart the fire. You count your coins. 5 pennies total. You're safe for a few days. You can buy food. You can survive. But as you sit there listening to the silence of the building, you realize something. The silence is worse than the noise. The silence means people are hiding. It means they're waiting. You look at your hands. They're dirty, calloused, shaking. You scrub them with a rag, harder than usual, trying to rub off the invisible death. Then, through the thin wall, you hear it. A cough. Not a throat-clearing cough. A deep, wet, rattling cough. It's coming from your own room. No, wait. It's coming from the corner. You freeze. You turn your head slowly. Your roommate, the cousin who never left, is sitting up on the mattress. His face is pale, sweat beading on his forehead in the firelight. He looks at you, his eyes wide and glassy with fever. "I don't feel well," he whispers. The cold that washes over you now isn't from the draft. It isn't from the river. It is the absolute zero of realization. The walls can't protect you. The door bolt can't protect you. The money can't protect you. The enemy is inside, and the long, brutal night has only just begun. You stare at your roommate. He's shivering, pulling the blanket up to his chin, but you can see the flush on his cheeks, the unnatural brightness of his eyes. "I'm cold," he murmurs. His teeth chatter. You don't move. You can't. Your mind is racing, calculating the distance between you and him. 6 feet of straw and floorboards. Is it enough? Is the air already poisoned? "Drink some water," you say, your voice sounding strange and distant in your own ears. You push the bucket toward him with your foot, keeping your distance. He drinks greedily, spilling water down his chin. Then he coughs again, a spasm that shakes his whole body. He groans, clutching his side. "It hurts," he says, "under my arm." You know what that means, the buboes, the swelling of the lymph nodes, the hallmark of the pestilence. Panic rises in your throat, sharp and acidic. You want to run. You want to unbolt the door and flee. Into the street, sleep in the churchyard, sleep in the mud, anywhere but here. But you can't. The curfew, the guards, the red crosses. If you run, you'll be caught. If they see you fleeing a plague house, they'll lock you up or worse. You're trapped. You retreat to the farthest corner of the room near the fire. You pile your own small stash of possessions around you like a barricade. Your extra tunic, your boots, the sack of onions. It's a pathetic defense, but it's all you have. The night stretches on, agonizingly slow. Your roommate tosses and turns, muttering in a delirium. He calls out names you don't know. He asks for his mother. He begs for a priest. You sit with your knees pulled to your chest, watching him. You feed the fire sparingly, trying to keep the smoke moving up and out, hoping it carries the sickness with it. Every time he coughs, you flinch. You pull your collar up over your nose. You pray. You aren't a devout person usually. Church is just a place to stand on Sundays. But tonight, you're bargaining with God. If I live, I'll light a candle. If I live, I'll give a penny to the poor. Around midnight, the building wakes up. Not with the usual morning bustle, but with the sound of fear. Someone on the floor below is screaming. It's a raw, terrified sound. Then, heavy footsteps on the stairs. The pounding of a fist on wood. Open up, by order of the council. It's the searchers. The searchers are women, usually older widows hired by the city to examine the dead and the sick. They are immune or lucky or simply desperate enough for the pay. They carry white wands to identify themselves. You hear the door below crash open, voices shouting. The scream cuts off abruptly. Then the footsteps continue up the stairs. They are coming to your floor. Your heart stops. If they find your roommate sick, they will seal the door. They will nail it shut from the outside. You will be quarantined with him. You will be locked in a box with the plague until you are dead or until 40 days have passed. And nobody survives 40 days in a locked room with a corpse. You look at your roommate. He's quiet now, passed out or sleeping. Maybe he just looks like he has a fever. Maybe you can bluff. The knock comes. Bang, bang, bang. Open! Inspection! You scramble to the door. You unbolt it with shaking hands. 2 women stand there, their faces wrapped in vinegar-soaked rags. Behind them is a guard with a pike. Anyone sick? One woman demands, her eyes hard and suspicious. No, you lie. Just sleeping. She pushes past you, marching into the room. She holds a lantern high, illuminating the corner where your roommate lies. He groans and shifts. The blanket slips. She sees it. The swelling on his neck, the size of an egg, dark and angry against his pale skin. She recoils, covering her mouth. Plague, she announces, her voice muffled by the rag. Mark it. The guard steps forward. He has a pot of red paint and a brush. No. You shout. I'm not sick. Let me out. House is infected, the guard says flatly. Nobody leaves. He paints the cross on your door a wet red slash. We'll bring food, the woman says, retreating to the hallway. Water. Every day. Don't try to leave. The watchman will be outside. Then the sound of a hammer. Thud. 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 They are nailing the door shut. You stand there, staring at the wood, listening to the nails driving into the frame. You are sealed in. You turn back to the room. The fire is dying. Your roommate is wheezing. The air feels heavier, closer. You're a prisoner in your own home. The next few days blur into a nightmare of waiting. You divide the room. The roommate gets the bed. You take the corner by the window. You try not to breathe the same air. You keep the fire going, burning every scrap of wood you have, then breaking up the stool, then the loose floorboards. Smoke is your only disinfectant. Your roommate gets worse. The swelling bursts. The smell is horrific, rotting meat and sickness. You gag, but you help him. You give him water. You wipe his face. Not because you are a saint, but because he is a human being, and he is terrified, and so are you. He dies on the 3rd night. It's quiet when it happens. 1 minute he's breathing, ragged and shallow. The next, silence. Now, you are locked in a room with a body. You go to the window. You open the shutter and look down into the street. Dead, you scream. He's dead. Take him away. A watchman looks up from his post below. He wears a thick cloak and holds a lantern. Cart comes at dusk, he calls back. Wrap him up. You have to wait all day with the body. You push it to the far side of the room. You cover it with the blanket. You sit by the window, breathing the cold air from the street, trying to ignore the presence behind you. Dusk comes. The cart rumbles down the street. The call goes up. Bring out your dead. The nails are pulled from the door. The guard stands back, pike raised. 2 men in heavy gloves come in. They grab the bundle. They drag it out. They don't look at you. They don't offer condolences. They just work. The door is slammed. The nails are driven back in. Thud, thud, thud. You're alone now. Just you and the empty bed and the smell that won't leave. You check yourself every hour. You feel your neck, your armpits, your groin. Is that a lump? Is that a flush? You count your food. You have the onions. You have the cabbage. The watchman passes a basket of bread through the window on a pole once a day. It's stale, but it's food. You count the days. 4, 5, 6. You start talking to yourself. You pace the small room. 3 steps, turn. 3 steps, turn. You memorize the cracks in the wall. You watch the spiders spinning webs in the rafters. You wonder if the world outside still exists. You hear the bells, so the church is still there. You hear the carts, so the dying is still happening. But you feel like a ghost, haunting your own life. On the 10th day, you wake up with a headache. It's a dull throb behind your eyes. You tell yourself it's the smoke, it's the hunger, it's the stress. But then the chills start. You shiver violently, your teeth clattering together. You wrap yourself in your cloak, crouching by the fire, but you can't get warm. You touch your neck. There it is. A small, hard knot under the skin. You stare at the wall. The red light of the fire dances on the plaster. It wasn't the roommate. It wasn't the bad air. It was the flea. A single, tiny flea that bit you while you slept 3 nights ago. You laugh. It's a dry hacking sound. You survived the winter. You survived the hunger. You survived the fire. You survived the work. But you couldn't survive the flea. You lie down on the floor. The straw is cold. The room spins. You close your eyes. You listen to the city outside, the bells, the shouts, the life that goes on without you. This is the brutal reality of the medieval city. It doesn't care if you're strong. It doesn't care if you're smart. It doesn't care if you saved your pennies. It is a machine that runs on blood and bone. And today, you are the fuel. As the fever takes you, the cold fades. The hunger fades. The fear fades. There is only the dark and the quiet and the end of the long, hard shift. Sleep now. The work is done. The fever dream fades. The darkness of the tenement room dissolves, replacing the suffocating heat of sickness with a different kind of cold, a sharp, biting chill that nips at your nose and ears. You blink, expecting the thatched roof, the straw mattress, the red cross on the door. But you aren't there anymore. You're standing on a cobblestone street, your breath misting in the air like dragon smoke. In your right hand, you hold a heavy iron pike. In your left, a lantern that swings rhythmically, casting a pool of yellow, oily light that barely penetrates the fog. You are the Night Watch. The city hasn't changed, but your place in it has. You aren't the victim huddled in the dark anymore. You are the eyes of the city. You are the thin, shivering line between order and chaos. It's 2 a.m. The dead of night, they call it. And standing here, listening to the utter silence of a city that usually screams, you understand why. Your uniform is a thick, padded gamson, a quilted jacket that offers some protection against a knife, but mostly just absorbs the damp like a sponge. Over that, a wool cloak that smells of wet dog and lantern oil. On your head, a leather cap that does absolutely nothing to stop the frost from settling in your hair. You're paid in copper and complaints. Your job description is simple. Walk, watch, don't fall asleep. And if you see fire, scream until your lungs give out. You start your patrol. The route is etched into your muscle memory. Down High Street, left at the shambles, circle the churchyard, check the North Gate. Walking through a medieval city at night is a sensory experience entirely, different from the day. The overwhelming stench of the afternoon, the rot, the animals, the sweat has cooled down. The cold air suppresses the smells, leaving only the sharp scent of wood smoke from banking fires and the mineral tang of wet stone. The noise is gone too. The shouting merchants, the clattering carts, the ringing bells, all silenced. The only sound is the crunch of your boots on the gravel and the creak-squeak of your lantern handle. It feels like you're walking through a graveyard of buildings. The timber-framed houses lean over you, their upper stories blocking out the stars, creating a tunnel of blackness. Shutters are closed tight. Doors are barred. The city is a fortress of sleep. But it's not empty. You pass an alleyway and hear a rustle. You swing your lantern, the light catching the reflective eyes of a cat sitting on a barrel. It stares at you, unblinking, then vanishes into the dark. The cats own the night here. They are the only ones doing real work, hunting the rats that swarm the gutters. You nod to the empty space where the cat was. Professional courtesy. You keep moving. Your feet are cold. Medieval boots are not insulated. You wiggle your toes with every step to keep the blood flowing. You think about the charcoal brazier back at the guard post, a small iron basket of warmth that you won't see for another hour. You reach the shambles, the butcher's district. Even in the cold, the smell here is distinct, metallic and heavy. The gutters are slick. You tread carefully. A slip here means landing in something that won't wash out. You check the doors of the shops. This is part of the duty. You rattle a latch, locked. You push against a shutter, secure. Thieves are the primary concern, but honestly, most thieves are smarter than to be out in this weather. The real problem is the drunks. Sure enough, you hear it before you see it. a low, tuneless singing coming from behind a stack of crates. "For the ale is good and the ale is brown," you sigh. It's Miller, the local nuisance. He never makes it home on payday. You walk over, swinging the lantern high. Miller is slumped against a wall, a wineskin in his lap, looking very pleased with himself. "Curfew, Miller," you say, your voice sounding too loud in the quiet street. He blinks up at you, squinting against the light. "Is it? Thought it was morning." "It's the middle of the night. Go home before you freeze or get robbed." He grumbles, struggling to his feet. You steady him with the haft of your pike, not out of kindness, but because you don't want to have to drag him. He stumbles off into the fog, muttering about the quality of the moonlight. You watch him go until he's just a shadow, then you turn back to your round. It's not glamorous work. There are no sword fights, no heroic defences of the realm. It's mostly just babysitting a city that refuses to take care of itself. You reach the north gate. This is a critical point. The gates are locked at sundown and opened at sunrise. No one comes in, no one goes out. It's a quarantine measure, a tax measure, and a defence measure all rolled into one massive oak door reinforced with iron bands. You check the smaller wicket gate, the one used for foot traffic. It's bolted. The heavy iron bar is in place. You lean against the cold stone of the gatehouse for a moment, resting your legs. From here, you can look out through a slit in the wall at the fields beyond the city. It's a different world out there. No buildings, no noise, just darkness stretching to the horizon. A few campfires flicker in the distance. Travellers who arrived too late and are camping outside the walls waiting for dawn. You don't envy them. It's colder out there in the open wind. You turn back to the city. It feels safer inside the walls, even with the filth and the crowding. Walls mean order. Walls mean civilization. As you push off the wall to continue your patrol, you hear a sound that makes every night watchman's blood run cold. Crack. It's the sound of dry wood snapping. You freeze. You sniff the air. Smoke. Not the mellow scent of a hearth fire, but the sharp, acrid smell of something burning that shouldn't be. You scan the rooftops. There, 2 streets over. A faint orange glow is reflecting off the low clouds. Panic spikes in your chest, but you tamp it down. You have a job to do. You run. Running in heavy boots and a wool cloak is a nightmare. The lantern swings wildly, splashing light on the walls. The pike weighs you down, but you can't drop it. It's state property. You turn the corner and see it. It's not a house fire, thank God. It's a chimney fire. Someone has stoked their hearth too high, and the soot inside the chimney stack has caught. Sparks are shooting out of the top like a Roman candle, raining down onto the thatch of the roof. This is how cities die. One spark on dry thatch. You don't have water. You have a voice. "Fire," you scream. "Fire! Awake! Fire!" You take the butt of your pike and hammer it against the door of the house. Bang, bang, bang. "Fire! Get up!" Windows fly open up and down the street. Heads pop out, nightcaps askew. Where? What is it? The roof. The roof is burning. The door of the house opens. A man stands there in his shift, looking confused and terrified. "Your chimney!" you yell, pointing up. He looks up, sees the sparks, and his face goes white. "Water!" he shouts back into the house. "Get the buckets!" Within minutes, the street is full of people. This is the bucket brigade again, the same one you stood in during your other life as a labourer. But this time, you are directing it. "You to the well! You, get a ladder! Wet the thatch!" You feel a strange surge of authority. In the daylight, you are a nobody. In the dark, with the city threatened, you are the commander. A neighbour appears with a long pole that has a hook on the end. A fire hook. It's designed to pull burning thatch off a roof to stop the spread. "Hook it," you order. The neighbour climbs a ladder and starts tearing at the burning section of the roof. Burning straw rains down into the street, hissing in the mud. People stomp on it, extinguishing the embers. Buckets of water are passed up. A splash, a hiss of steam. The orange glow fades. The sparks die out. It's over. The roof has a hole in it and the chimney is ruined, but the house stands. The block stands. The crowd stands in the street, panting, shivering in their nightclothes. The adrenaline fades, leaving everyone cold and tired. "Good watch," the homeowner says to you, his voice shaking. "Good watch." He hands you a coin, a silver groat, 4 pennies. You nod, pocketing it. "Check your flue next time," you say gruffly, "or you'll burn us all down." You walk away as the neighbours disperse. You don't stay for the chatter. The patrol isn't over. You walk back toward the guard post, your lantern swinging. You feel the weight of the silver coin in your pocket. It's a good night. A profitable night. You reach the post, a small stone hut with a bench and the brazier. The coals are still warm. You hold your hands over them, letting the heat seep into your frozen fingers. You sit down just for a moment. You watch the fog swirl outside the door. The city is quiet again. The danger has passed. The monster of fire has been fed a roof and sent back to sleep. You close your eyes, listening to the silence. It's a heavy, expectant silence. The city is waiting for dawn, and you are the one keeping it safe until the sun comes back. You drift, just for a second, in the space between waking and sleeping, where the line between the watchman and the city blurs, and then the bell tolls, 3 a.m. Time to walk again. You stand up, grab the pike, and step back into the dark. The bell toll fades into the fog, a lonely metallic sound that seems to vibrate in your teeth. 3 a.m. The hour of the wolf, they call it in the countryside. Here in the city, it's the hour of the rat, the thief, and the insomnia that comes from sleeping on a sack of straw. You leave the warmth of the brazier behind. It's harder this time. Your body had just started to relax, to remember what comfort felt like. Stepping back into the cold feels like walking into a wall of water. You pull your cloak tighter, wishing it was thicker, wishing it didn't smell like wet wool and smoke. You head toward the merchant district this time. This is the wealthy part of town, or as wealthy as it gets in a medieval city. The streets here are slightly wider, the muck slightly less deep. The houses are taller, more impressive, with timber frames painted black and white, and glass in the windows instead of just shutters. Glass. A luxury so extravagant it almost makes you angry. You imagine the people sleeping behind that glass, wrapped in fur-lined blankets, dreaming of roast swan and spiced wine. You pause outside the Guildhall. It's a massive stone building, imposing and silent. This is where the power lies. The merchants who run the guilds control the prices, the wages, the laws. They decide if bread costs a penny or two. They decide if you work or starve. You spit on the cobblestones, a small rebellion that no one will ever see. Suddenly a shadow detaches itself from the darkness of a doorway ahead. You stop. You lift your lantern. Who goes there? Your voice is gruff, practiced. The shadow doesn't move. It's small. A child? No, too hunched. You step closer, pike ready. It's a beggar. An old man, wrapped in rags that are more holes than fabric. He's sitting on the step of a wealthy merchant's house, shivering so violently his teeth are clicking like dice in a cup. Move along, you say. Curfew. He looks up at you. His eyes are milky with cataracts, his face a map of dirt and sores. Just a moment of shelter, master, he wheezes. The stone is warm from the day. The stone is ice cold. He's delirious, or he's freezing to death. You look at him. You look at the merchant's house with its glass windows and locked doors. You have a choice. You can arrest him. You can drag him to the stocks. That's the law. Or you can kick him out into the street to find another doorway. You sigh. You reach into your pouch and pull out a piece of the hard bread you saved from your own supper. It's not much, a dry crust, but it's calories. You toss it to him. He catches it with surprising speed like a starving dog. Eat, you say, then find a barn. If the bailiff finds you here, he'll whip you. The old man nods, gnawing on the bread. He doesn't say thank you. He doesn't have the energy for manners. You walk away. You didn't do it for kindness. You did it because you didn't want to have to carry a corpse to the cart in the morning. That's what you tell yourself anyway. You continue your round. The streets start to narrow again as you approach the river. The smell of the Thames returns, damp and rotting. You hear a splash, then voices. Heave! Get it in! Smugglers again? Or something worse? You dim your lantern, covering the glass with a flap of your cloak. You move silently, hugging the wall. You reach the edge of the wharf and peer over a stack of barrels. 3 men are standing at the edge of the water. They're struggling with a heavy sack. It's long and lumpy. The shape is unmistakable. A body. They aren't smugglers. They are murderers. Or maybe just people too poor to pay the burial fee. 1, 2, 3. They swing the sack out over the water. It hits with a heavy wet slap and sinks immediately. Gone, one man whispers. Let's go. They turn and hurry away, disappearing into the fog. You stay hidden. You don't chase them. You're one man with a pike. They were 3, and they just dumped a body. You aren't paid enough to be a hero. You wait until their footsteps fade. Then you walk to the edge of the dock and look down into the black water. The ripples have already vanished. The river keeps its secrets. This is the reality of the city. Life is cheap, death is expensive, and the river takes everyone in the end. You turn back toward the city centre. The sky is changing. It's not light yet, but the black is turning to a deep bruised purple. Dawn is coming. The city begins to stir. A rooster crows, the one that actually does its job. A baker's oven is lit, sending a plume of wood smoke into the air. The smell of baking bread drifts through the streets, the most beautiful smell in the world. You feel a phantom hunger in your stomach. You think about the bread you gave the beggar. You regret it for a second, then push the thought away. You head back to the guard post to hand over your lantern to the day watch. The day watchman is already there, warming his hands over the brazier. He looks fresh, rested, annoying. "Quiet night?" he asks, taking the lantern. "Quiet enough," you lie. "Chimney fire on Tanner Street. Miller was drunk again." "Standard," he grunts. "Get some sleep." Sleep. The word sounds like a prayer. You walk home. The city is waking up around you. Carts are rolling. People are shouting. The noise is returning, pushing back the silence of the night. You reach your tenement. You climb the stairs, your legs heavy as lead. You open your door. The room is cold. The fire is dead. The smell of soot and straw is overwhelming. You don't undress. You just collapse onto the mattress, pulling the blanket over your head. You close your eyes. The sounds of the morning market drift up through the window. The fishmonger, the blacksmith, the bells. To them, the day is just beginning. To you, it is finally over. You drift off, the taste of smoke in your mouth, the memory of the river in your mind. You survived the night. You kept the watch. But as sleep takes you, a thought lingers. Tonight, the sun will set again. Tonight, the shadows will return. Tonight, the city will need you again. Because the watch never ends. It just changes shifts. You wake with a start. The sound that pulled you from sleep wasn't a rooster or a bell. It was a scream, not a scream of fear, but of rage. "Thief! Stop him! Thief!" You scramble up, your head spinning. The light coming through the shutter is bright, harsh. It must be midday. You slept through the morning. You rush to the window and throw open the shutter. The street below is a blur of motion. A boy is sprinting through the mud, clutching a loaf of bread to his chest. He is fast, skinny, and desperate. Behind him, a baker, red-faced, apron flapping, is giving chase, waving a wooden paddle like a club. The crowd parts for the boy, then closes in behind him, blocking the baker. In this neighbourhood, sympathies often lie with the hungry, not the merchants. The boy darts down an alleyway and vanishes. The baker skids to a halt, shouting curses at the sky, at the crowd, at the boy's ancestors. You watch for a moment, your heart racing. That could have been you. That was you, once, years ago. The desperation of an empty stomach makes you fast. You pull back from the window. The room is sweltering. The sun has heated the roof tiles, turning the attic room into an oven. The smell is different now, less damp, more stale. Dust motes dance in the shaft of light. You need to eat. You check your stash. You have the silver groat from the chimney fire. 4 pennies. You are rich. But you can't spend it all. You need to save. You decide to treat yourself. Not a feast, but something better than pottage. A meat pie. You dress quickly, shaking the straw from your tunic. You grab your knife. You head out. The city at midday is a different beast than the city at dawn or dusk. It is aggressive. The heat amplifies everything, the smells, the noise, the tempers. You head toward the cookshop district near the river. These are the medieval fast food joints. Open-fronted stalls selling pies, roasted meats and stews to people who don't have kitchens. The air here is thick with the scent of grease and roasting pork. It makes your mouth water so hard it hurts. You find a stall with a good reputation, meaning fewer people have died after eating there this week. The cook is a massive woman with arms like hams and a scar running down her cheek. She's ladling gravy over a tray of pies. 1 pie, you say, putting a penny on the counter. She eyes you. Penny gets you mutton. 2 pennies gets you beef, or what passes for beef. Mutton is fine. She hands you a pie. It's hot, heavy and greasy. The crust is thick, designed to be held in the hand. You take a bite. It's okay. The meat is grey and chewy, seasoned heavily with pepper to hide the taste of age. There are chunks of gristle, but it's meat, and it's hot. You eat it standing in the street watching the river traffic. Barges are moving again, carrying coal, timber and grain. The city is a hungry mouth, and the river is the spoon feeding it. As you finish your pie, a commotion starts near the bridge. A group of soldiers is marching down the street. They aren't the city watch. These are royal troops. They wear livery badges, a red dragon on a white field. They carry halberds and walk with the arrogance of men who know they can do whatever they want. The crowd scatters. People press themselves against walls, eyes downcast. You do the same. You don't make eye contact with soldiers. That's a good way to get recruited for a war you don't care about, or just beaten for sport. They march past, their boots thudding in unison. In the centre of the group there is a cart. In the cart a cage, and in the cage a man. He looks rough, battered. His clothes are torn, but he holds his head high. "Traitor!" someone in the crowd shouts. "Rebel!" yells another. A rotten apple flies from the crowd and hits the bars of the cage. The man doesn't flinch. You watch him go. Politics is a dangerous game in the medieval city. Kings rise and fall, and the people in the middle just try not to get crushed. You don't. Know who he is or what he did. Maybe he spoke against the taxes. Maybe he supported the wrong duke. It doesn't matter. He's going to the tower, and he won't be coming back. The soldiers pass. The tension breaks. The crowd flows back into the street like water filling a void. You have the afternoon free before your watch shift starts. You could go back to sleep. But the heat in your room is unbearable. You decide to go to the fields outside the walls, just for an hour, to see something green, to breathe air that hasn't been breathed by 1,000 other people first. You walk to the gate. The guards wave you through without looking. They only care about who comes in, not who leaves. Outside, the world opens up. The city walls loom behind you, a massive stone cliff. But in front of you, there are fields, stripes of green and gold, barley, wheat, oats. The air smells of earth and manure, but it's fresh manure, country manure, not the city sludge. It smells almost sweet. You walk along a dirt path listening to the skylarks. It's peaceful. It's quiet. For a moment you can pretend you aren't a city rat. You can pretend you are a free man walking your own land. But then you see them, the gibbets. They stand at the crossroads, stark black silhouettes against the blue sky. Iron cages hanging from wooden posts. Inside the cages are bodies. Some are just skeletons, bleached white by the sun. Others are fresher, still clothed in rags, swaying gently in the wind. These are the criminals, the thieves, the murderers, the rebels, left to rot as a warning. A flock of crows is pecking at one of the cages. They call loudly, fighting over a scrap. You stop. The piece is shattered. The smell hits you now, sweet, cloying rot. This is the border of the city. This is the price of order. You look at the dead men. One of them is missing a boot. You wonder if someone stole it. You turn around. The green fields don't look so inviting anymore. The silence feels heavy, judgmental. You head back to the gate, back to the noise, back to the stink. At least in the city, the dead are buried. Mostly. You walk back through the gate, flashing your badge to the guard. He grunts. "Enjoy your stroll, Lord Mayor," he mocks. "Beautiful day for a hanging," you reply dryly. He laughs. It's a dark, humourless sound. You head toward the guard post. Your shift doesn't start for hours, but you might as well be there. It's the closest thing to a community you have. You sit on the bench outside the post, watching the sun begin its slow descent. The shadows lengthen. The light turns golden, then orange. The city prepares for another night. The shutters close. The fires are stoked. The fear returns. You check your lantern. You check your pike. You check your knife. You are ready. Because when the sun goes down, the city becomes a different place, and someone has to watch the dark. The sun finally gives up the ghost, bleeding out into a bruised purple horizon beyond the city walls. Twilight in the medieval city isn't romantic, it's a countdown. You have about 20 minutes between "I can see my hand in front of my face" and "Is that a puddle or a hole to the underworld?" You light your lantern. The flame catches, sputtering at first, then settling into a steady, reassuring glow. It's a small circle of safety in a world that is rapidly losing its edges. Your partner for the night arrives. It's not the usual guy. It's Thomas. Thomas is older, maybe 50, which makes him ancient by local standards. He has a white beard stained yellow with tobacco smoke, and a limp that he claims came from a war in France, though everyone knows he fell off a hay wagon while drunk. "Evening, lad," he grunts, hitching his belt. "Smells like rain." "Smells like pigs," you correct. "That too." You start the patrol. Tonight the route takes you through the tangled warren of the poorer districts, the rookeries. Here, the streets aren't paved. They are just mud tracks winding between hovels that look like they were built by someone who hated geometry. The noise here is different. It's not the bustle of commerce. It's the murmur of survival. You hear babies crying, always crying. You hear the hacking coughs of the old. You hear the low, desperate arguments of families trying to make a loaf of bread last 3 days. Thomas stops suddenly. He holds up a hand. Listen. You strain your ears. At first, just the wind. Then, a sound. Scrape, scrape, scrape. It's coming from an alleyway to your left. A dead end. You exchange a look. This is the bad part of the job. You move forward, lanterns held high. The light spills into the alley. A figure is crouched over a pile of refuse. A man, ragged, skinny. He is digging through the garbage with a stick. "Hey!" Thomas barks. "What's your business?" The man jumps, dropping the stick. He spins around, eyes wide with terror. He's clutching something to his chest. A bone. A meat bone. Gnawed clean by a dog, probably, but still possessing a scrap of gristle. "Nothing," he stammers. "Just looking for lost coins." "In a trash heap?" Thomas scoffs. The man shrinks back. "I'm hungry, masters. Please." You lower your pike. He's not a thief. He's just starving. Thomas sighs, a long rattling sound. He reaches into his own pouch and pulls out an apple. It's bruised, soft, probably found on the ground itself, but it's food. He tosses it. The man catches it, fumbling, almost dropping the bone. "Go on," Thomas says. "Get out of sight before the bailiff sees you." The man nods frantically and scuttles away into the dark. You watch him go. "You're soft, old man," you say quietly. "I've been hungry," Thomas says, resuming his limp. "Hunger makes you do things. Madness things." You walk in silence for a while. The rain starts, just as Thomas predicted. It's a cold, miserable drizzle that soaks through your cloak in minutes. The mud turns to slime. Your boots slip with every step. You pass a church. The doors are locked, but you can see a faint light under the arch. Someone is inside, praying. Or hiding. Sanctuary. That's the law. If a criminal can make it to the church and touch the altar, the law can't touch them for 40 days. They can confess, do penance, and then leave the country. It's a loophole in the king's justice. You wonder who's in there tonight? A thief? A murderer? Or just someone who owes too much money? "Ever thought about it?" Thomas asks, nodding at the church. "What, sanctuary?" "Aye, just stepping out of the world for a bit, letting God deal with the mess." "God has enough messes," you say. "He doesn't need mine." The rain gets heavier. You seek shelter under the overhang of a butcher's shop. The smell of raw meat is strong here, mixing with the rain. You stand there watching the water drip from the eaves. Drip, drip, drip. Suddenly a bell starts ringing. Not the church bell. A handbell. Fast. Frantic. "Fire?" you ask, tensing. "No," Thomas says, listening. "That's the watch bell. The hue and cry." The hue and cry. The law demands that if a crime is committed, the victim must raise the alarm and all able-bodied men must join the pursuit. "Where?" "South," Thomas points. "Toward the bridge. You don't want to go. You want to stay dry, but duty is duty, and maybe there's a reward. Let's go," you say. You run toward the sound. Other lanterns are appearing in the streets now, bobbing like fireflies. Men are shouting. You reach the London Bridge. It's not just a bridge. It's a street over the water, lined with shops and houses. It's narrow, crowded, and dangerous. A crowd has gathered near the centre. A man is pointing down into the swirling black water of the Thames. "He jumped! He jumped with the purse!" A merchant is standing there, red-faced, chest-heaving. "He cut my purse and jumped!" You look over the railing. The river is churning, angry. The tide is going out, rushing toward the sea. You see a head bobbing in the current, a dark shape. "Help me!" a voice screams from the water. "I can't swim!" The thief. The crowd watches. No one moves. To jump in there is suicide. The currents around the bridge pilings are deadly. "Throw a rope," someone yells, but there is no rope. You watch the head bob once, twice. The scream is cut off by a mouthful of river water. Then he's gone, swept under the bridge into the dark. The merchant stares at the water. "My purse," he whispers. "He took my purse." He doesn't care about the man. He cares about the silver. "It's gone, master," Thomas says, his voice flat. "River has it now. River takes its tax." The crowd begins to disperse. The show is over. A life for a bag of coins. A fair trade in the city's eyes. You turn away feeling sick. The adrenaline fades, leaving you cold and shaking. "Let's get back to the post," you say. Thomas nods. "Aye, I need a drink." You walk back through the rain. The city feels darker now, meaner. The river flows on, indifferent, carrying its new burden out to the sea. You survived another hour, but the night is long, and the city has plenty more ways to break your heart before the sun comes up. Back at the guard post, Thomas pulls a flask from his cloak. It's battered leather, stained dark with age. He unstoppers it and takes a long pull, then offers it to you. "Warmth," he grunts. You take it. The liquid burns going down, raw spirits, probably distilled from grain that was too rotten to bake. It tastes like fire and medicine, but it spreads a welcome heat through your chest. You hand it back. "Thanks." "Don't mention it." The sergeant frowns on drinking on duty, unless he's thirsty. The rain has turned the street in front of the post into a swamp. You sit on the bench, watching the water run in rivets through the mud. It's quiet again, that heavy, expectant silence that falls after a tragedy. "You ever wonder," you ask, staring at the brazier, "why we do this?" Thomas snorts. "For the 4 pennies a night, lad, and the glamour." "No, I mean, living here, in the muck, watching people drown for a purse. Is it worth it?" Thomas leans back against the stone wall. He looks tired, older than his years. "Worth it? It's better than starving in a field. Better than being a serf tied to the land like a goat. Here you have a chance. A small one, but a chance. A chance to what? Die of plague? Burn in a fire? A chance to be something," he says softly. "My father was a serf. He never saw a coin in his life. He died owing his lord 3 chickens. Me? I have boots. I have a job. I have a flask of spirits. That's freedom, boy. Ugly, dirty freedom." You think about that. Freedom. Is this freedom? Standing in the rain, waiting for the next disaster? Maybe. In a world where most people are property, being a hired man with copper in his pocket is a kind of kingship. "Listen," Thomas says, straightening up. Footsteps, fast, light, running. Not a thief this time. A child. A boy bursts out of the fog. He's barefoot, his tunic soaked. He sees you and skids to a halt, panting. "Watchman, please, my mother." "What is it?" you ask, standing up. She's birthing. The baby won't come. The midwife. We can't pay the midwife." Thomas looks at you. "This isn't a crime. It's not a fire. It's not your job." "Go to the priest," Thomas says, "or the charity hospital." "Priest won't open the door. Hospital is full. Please, sirs, she's screaming." The boy's eyes are wide, terrified. He looks like you did, years ago, when your own mother was sick. You look at Thomas. He shakes his head. "We can't leave the post, not for this. But you can't just sit here." "I'll go," you say. "Lad, I'll be quick. Cover for me." Thomas sighs, taking another drink. "Fine, but if the sergeant comes, you're in the privy, with a profound bowel complaint." "Understood." You follow the boy. He runs through the twisting alleys of the rookeries. The mud sucks at your boots. The smell of sewage is strong here. He leads you to a hovel that is little more than a lean-to against a larger building. The door is a piece of canvas. Inside, it's dark and stiflingly hot. A fire burns in the centre of the dirt floor. A woman lies on a pile of rags, sweating, groaning. A neighbour woman is wiping her forehead with a dirty cloth. "Where is the midwife?" the neighbour demands. "Couldn't pay," the boy gasps. "Brought the watch." The neighbour looks at you with scorn. "What good is he? Can he catch a baby with a pike?" You step forward. You don't know anything about birthing, but you have something they don't. You reach into your pouch. You pull out the silver groat, the 4 pennies you earned from the fire, your savings, your meat pie money. You hand it to the boy. "Run," you say. "Get the midwife. Tell her you have silver." The boy stares at the coin. It's more money than he's ever seen. "Go!" you shout. He runs. You stand there, awkward in your heavy cloak. The woman screams again, a raw, tearing sound. "Water!" the neighbour snaps at you. "If you're staying, be useful. Fetch water." You grab the bucket, you run to the well down the street. You haul up water, your arms aching, you run back. You boil the water. You fetch clean rags, or as clean as you can find. You hold the woman's hand while she crushes your fingers. It takes an hour, an eternity. Then the midwife arrives. She's a formidable woman with a bag of herbs and a no-nonsense attitude. She sees the silver coin in the boy's hand and nods. "Right, out," she tells you. "Men out." You step outside into the rain. You stand with the boy. He's shivering. You wrap your cloak around him. You wait. Then a cry. Not a scream of pain. A thin, wailing cry. A new life. The midwife pokes her head out. "Boy." He's small, but he's loud. The boy collapses against you, sobbing with relief. You pat his shoulder. You feel light. Lighter than you have in years. You're broke. You have no money for food tomorrow. You risked your job, but you bought a life for 4 pennies. That's a bargain. You walk back to the guard post. The rain has stopped. The sky's turning grey in the east. Thomas is waiting. He looks at you. He sees your empty pouch. He sees the look on your face. "You gave it away, didn't you?" "Yeah." He shakes his head. "Fool. Sentimental fool." Then he reaches into his own pouch. He pulls out a piece of dried sausage. He breaks it in half and hands you a piece. "Eat. Can't have you fainting on my watch." You take the sausage. It's salty, greasy, and delicious. "Thanks, Thomas. Don't mention it, and don't tell the sergeant." The sun breaks the horizon. The bells ring for prime. The gates open. The carts start rolling. The city is awake. The monster is hungry again. But you survived another night, and somewhere in the rookeries a baby is crying. That's enough. "Shift's over," Thomas says, standing up. "Let's go home." You nod. You walk home through the waking streets. The mud is just as deep. The smell is just as bad. But the air feels a little different today. A little cleaner. You reach your room. You fall onto your mattress. You close your eyes. You dream of silver coins and crying babies, and the river flowing endlessly to the sea. And for the first time in a long time, you don't dream of the dark. You wake up, and the first thing you feel isn't the cold or the damp straw. It's the regret. Virtue is a warm feeling in the chest, sure, but it doesn't bake bread. You gave away your silver groat. You're back to zero. Actually, you're below zero because your stomach is emptier than it was yesterday, and you have no coin to fix it. You lie there for a moment, staring at the soot-stained ceiling, calculating. The building site might be hiring again, but your shoulder is still throbbing from the stone hauling. The docks are inconsistent. The night watch doesn't pay until the end of the week. You need money now. You drag yourself up. The water in the bucket has a thin film of dust on it. You drink it anyway. It tastes flat and metallic. You head out into the street. The morning rush is over, settling into the steady, grinding hum of the midday city. You walk toward the Cheapside market, not to buy. You can't afford a single bean, but to look. To scavenge. Sometimes a merchant drops an apple. Sometimes a butcher throws a bone with meat on it to the dogs, and if you're faster than the dog, it's yours. But today the market is distracted. The crowd isn't looking at the stalls. They are gathered around the pillory. The pillory is the city's theatre, its news board, and its warning system all in one. It stands on a raised wooden platform in the centre of the square. Today, there is a man locked in it. His head and hands are trapped in the wooden frame, forcing him to stand bent over, exposed to the world. You push through the crowd to see. It's a baker. You recognise him by the flour still dusted in his hair. A sign is hung around his neck. Sold light loaves. In a city where hunger is a constant companion, selling underweight bread is a cardinal sin. It's stealing food from the mouths of the poor. The crowd knows this, and they are letting him know they know. They aren't throwing stones. That would be murder. They are throwing filth, rotten vegetables, mud, horse manure scooped from the street. The baker's face is coated in slime. He is weeping, begging for mercy, but his voice is drowned out by the jeers. "Cheater! Starver!" A woman next to you, holding a basket of turnips, winds up and hurls one. It hits the baker with a wet thwack right on the ear. "That's for my children," she screams. You watch, mesmerised and horrified. It's brutal. It's mob justice. But part of you, the hungry part, feels a dark satisfaction. He stole from people like you. But then you look at the ground near the platform. Amidst the mud and the dung there are pieces of food. Rotten apples, bruised cabbages, stale, crusts thrown by the crowd. Waste. Your stomach twists. You're starving, and they are using food as a weapon. You spot a turnip that missed the baker and rolled to the edge of the platform. It's bruised, but mostly intact. You calculate the risk. If you dive for it, you might get kicked. You might get hit by the next volley of garbage. You might be mistaken for a sympathizer, but hunger makes you bold. You lunge. You grab the turnip from the mud. You scramble back into the crowd before anyone can stomp on your hand. You wipe the mud off on your tunic. You bite into it raw. It's bitter, earthy, and hard, but it's food. You eat it while watching the baker cry. This is the medieval circle of life. One man's punishment is another man's lunch. You leave the square as the crowd starts to get bored. You need work. You wander down a narrow alley that smells particularly foul, even for this city. It smells of wet fur and death. Ahead, you see a man walking with a strange gait. He's carrying a long pole over his shoulder. Hanging from the pole are dozens of limp grey shapes. Rats. It's the rat catcher. He's a thin, wiry man with eyes that dart around like the creatures he hunts. He wears a leather coat that looks greasier than a tallow candle. He's accompanied by a small, vicious-looking terrier on a rope leash. "Boy," he calls out, seeing you eyeing the rats. "You looking for work or just admiring the catch?" "Work," you say. "Does it pay?" "Penny a dozen, plus a penny for the help. My boy ran off. Bit by a big one. Bit by a big one." You hesitate. Rat bites mean fever. They mean death. But a penny is a penny. "I'll do it," you say. He takes you to a warehouse near the river. It belongs to a grain merchant. The merchant is standing outside, looking pale. "They're in the cellar," the merchant says. "Swarming. I can hear them scratching." The rat catcher nods. He hands you a sack and a club. "I send the dog in to flush 'em," he says. "You stand by the hole. When they run, you hit 'em, bag 'em, don't let 'em touch you." Simple enough. You descend into the cellar. It is pitch black. The smell is ammonia and grain dust. You light a lantern. The floor is moving. It's not a few rats. It's an army. They are feasting on the grain sacks, their eyes reflecting the lantern light like hundreds of tiny red stars. The rat catcher releases the terrier. The dog explodes into the room, a ball of fury and teeth. The rats panic. They surge toward the walls, toward the holes, toward you. "Hit 'em," the catcher screams. You swing the club. Thud, squeak, thud. It's frantic, disgusting work. The rats are fast. They jump. One launches itself at your leg, claws scrabbling on your boot leather. You kick it away, your heart hammering against your ribs. You swing until your arm burns. You scoop the broken bodies into the sack with a shovel. They are heavy, warm, and flea-ridden. You try not to think about the fleas. The fleas carry the sickness. You know this, even if you don't know the science. You just know that where the rats go, the death follows. After an hour, the cellar is quiet, save for the panting of the dog. The floor is slick. The sack is full. You haul it up the stairs, gasping for fresh air. The merchant pays the rat catcher. The rat catcher tosses you 2 pennies. "Good arm," he grunts. "Come back tomorrow. There's always more rats." You take the coins. You scrub your hands in the river until the skin is raw, trying to wash away the feeling of the fur, the phantom sensation of claws. 2 pennies. Enough for a bed. Enough for a hot meal. But you can still smell the cellar. It's stuck in your nose, stuck in your clothes. You walk away from the river, back toward the crowded streets. You pass a fine lady in a silk dress being carried in a sedan chair. She holds a pomander, a scented ball of spices, to her nose to block out the smell of the city. You wonder if she knows what lives under her floorboards. You wonder if she knows that while she sleeps, men like you are down in the dark, fighting a war against the vermin that want to eat her grain. Probably not. To her, the city just works. To you, the city is a beast that needs to be fed, cleaned, and survived. You clutch your 2 pennies. You survive the rats. Now, to survive the night, you head toward the public cook shop. With 2 pennies, you can afford something hot. Maybe not meat, but definitely peas pottage. A thick stew of dried peas, onions and herbs. It's the fuel of the working class. You find a stall where the pottage is bubbling in a cauldron so large you could bathe in it. The cook ladles a generous scoop into your wooden bowl. It's green, lumpy and steaming. You sit on a bench, shoulder to shoulder, with a tanner and a beggar. You eat. It tastes of salt and time and comfort. The warmth spreads through your chest, chasing away the chill of the river cellar. You listen to the chatter around you. Did you hear? The king is ill. King's always ill. It's the French pox. No, it's the bad air. The fog is poison. I heard the bishop saw a comet. Means war. Rumours are the true currency of the city. They travel faster than rats, faster than fire. Everyone knows something or thinks they do. They say the price of wool is dropping, the tanner mutters. My master is talking about cutting wages. Wages? The beggar laughs, a wheezing sound. Be glad you have wages. I'm living on the charity of saints and idiots. You finish your pottage. You feel human again. You have 1 penny left. You could save it. Or you could spend it on something frivolous, something unnecessary. You walk past a stall selling ribbons. Bright red, blue, yellow ribbons. They are useless. They don't keep you warm, they don't feed you, but they are beautiful. You see a young girl standing near the stall eyeing the ribbons. She is dressed in rags, her face smudged with soot. She looks about 12. You think about the baby you helped save. You think about the rats. You think about the fragility of it all. You walk up to the stall. 1 red ribbon, you say. The merchant hands it to you. It's silk, smooth and cool. You turn to the girl. Here, you say, holding it out. She stares at you, then at the ribbon. Her eyes go wide. For me? For you? Tie up your hair? She takes it, her fingers brushing yours. Thank you, sir. Thank you. She ties it into her matted hair. It looks ridiculous and perfect, a slash of bright red against the grey of the city. She runs off to show her friends. You stand there, penniless again. Why do you keep doing this? You're a terrible survivor. But you smile, just a little. The sun is setting. The curfew bell will ring soon. You need to get back to your post. You walk through the darkening streets. You pass a group of monks chanting in a doorway. You pass a stray dog chewing on a bone. You pass a pair of lovers whispering in an alley. Life goes on. Despite the plague, despite the rats, despite the hunger. You reach the guard post. Thomas is there, cleaning his lantern. You're late, he grunts. Busy day. Doing what? Hunting dragons? Hunting rats, you say, and buying ribbons. He looks at you, shakes his head. You're a strange one, lad. The city will eat you alive. Maybe, you say, picking up your pike. But not tonight. You start your patrol. The fog is back, rolling in from the river, thick and yellow. It mutes the sound of your footsteps. You walk past the bakeries, now dark and silent. You walk past the guild halls, locked tight against the night. You reach the poorer district, the rookeries. Here the silence is broken by a sound. Music, faint scratchy music. A fiddle. You follow the sound. It's coming from a cellar door that has been left slightly ajar. You peek inside. It's an illegal alehouse, a shebeen. The room is packed. Men and women are drinking, dancing, laughing. The air is blue with smoke. They are defying the curfew. They are defying the law. They are defying the misery of their lives. You should arrest them. You should call the watch. But you watch. A couple is dancing a jig, spinning in the centre of the room. An old man is clapping his hands. A child is sleeping on a sack of grain in the corner. For a moment, the city isn't a trap. It's a celebration. You step back. You close the door gently, shutting out the light and the music. You walk away. Nothing to report, you whisper to the fog. You continue your round. The night is long. The cold is deep. But somewhere, people are dancing, and that counts for something. The fog has thickened, turning the street into a tunnel of grey wool. You are walking blind, guiding yourself by the touch of the damp walls on your left. But soon, you don't need your eyes to know what is coming. Your nose tells you. It starts as a tickle in the back of your throat, a chemical sharpness that makes your eyes water. Then it hits you fully. The smell of ammonia, rot, and ancient, fermented waste. It's the Gong farmers. You step into a doorway, pressing yourself flat against the wood to let them pass. In the hierarchy of the medieval city, these men are the untouchables. They are the ones paid to descend into the cesspits, the deep, stone-lined holes beneath the privies, and shovel out the years of accumulated human waste. By law, they can only work at night. The city is too polite to acknowledge their existence while the sun is up. A cart rumbles out of the mist. It is distinct from the other carts. The wood is stained dark, almost black, and it drips. A lantern swings from the back, illuminating the trail of sludge it leaves on the cobblestones. 2 men walk beside it. They wear heavy leather aprons and boots that go up to their thighs. Their faces are wrapped in rags soaked in vinegar or turpentine to keep them from fainting. They stop at a house 3 doors down. The privy hatch is open. 1 man climbs down into the hole. You hear the squelch of a shovel, the grunt of effort. Splash. Thud. He hands a bucket up to his partner, who dumps it into the cart. You watch them. It is the worst job in the world. Worse than the tanneries. Worse than the rat-catching. And yet they are essential. Without them, the city would drown in its own filth within a month. They are paid well. Better than you. But they are social pariahs. No one drinks with a gong farmer. No one marries a gong farmer. They live in a separate district, usually downwind. The man in the cart spots your lantern. He pulls down his rag for a second. His face is streaked with grime, but his eyes are bright, intelligent. Watchman, he nods. Nightman, you reply. It's a professional acknowledgement. You both work the shift no one else wants. Rich pickings tonight, he says, gesturing to the house. Merchant's house. They eat well. You can tell by the smell. Rich folks' shite smells different. More meat, more spice. You try not to gag. Lucky you. Found a silver spoon in the muck last week, he says with a grin that reveals missing teeth. Maid must have dropped it with the slops, perks of the trade. He pulls the rag back up and gets back to work. You move on, you walk carefully, avoiding the trail the cart left behind. You think about the spoon. A silver spoon, buried in filth, retrieved, washed, and sold. Where is it now? On a noble's table? In a pawn shop? The city recycles everything. Nothing is ever truly lost. It just changes hands and cleanliness levels. You turn onto a wider street. The silence is broken by a different sound. Laughter. Loud, arrogant, slurring laughter. 3 young men are stumbling down the centre of the road. They wear velvet doublets, feathered caps, and swords on their hips. Nobles, or the sons of wealthy merchants pretending to be nobles. They are drunk, loud, and dangerous. Watch! Ho! Watch! One of them yells, spotting your lantern. You tense up. This is the part of the job that gets you killed. If you arrest them, their fathers will have you fired or whipped. If you ignore them, they might decide you're a fun target for sport. You stop, grounding your pike. Good evening, my lords. It is past curfew. Best be heading home. The leader, a boy of maybe 20 with a face flush with wine, draws his sword. It's a thin, decorative blade, but sharp enough to kill a peasant. Don't tell me where to go, gutter rat. I am of the House of Neville. You don't care about his house. You care about the point of the sword waving inches from your nose. The streets are not safe, my lord, you say, keeping your voice calm. Thieves. Cutthroats. I would hate for a man of your stature to be accosted. It's flattery. It's a lie. You're the only one here protecting him, and he is threatening you. He laughs, slashing at the air. I fear no thief. I am a lion. He lunges at a shadow on the wall, stumbling. His friends laugh and grab his arms. Come on, Edmund, one says. The tavern is closed. Let's find a whorehouse. Watchman, Edmund shouts, pointing his sword at you again. Where are the women? Guide us, or I'll spit you like a pig. You have a choice. You can fight him. You have a pike. You have reach. You could knock him down. But striking a noble is a crime. 2 streets east, my lord, you say, pointing toward a district you know is mostly abandoned warehouses and aggressive stray dogs. Look for the red lantern. There is no red lantern, but it will take them 20 minutes to figure that out, and by then you will be gone. East, Edmund cheers. To the prize. They stumble off singing a bawdy song, their boots slipping on the wet stones. You watch them go. You lower your pike. Your hands are shaking slightly. Not from fear, but from rage. That boy's boots cost more than you will earn in a lifetime. He can threaten you with death, and you have to thank him for it. This is the justice of the city. It flows downhill, just like the gutters. You continue your patrol. The anger burns in your chest, keeping you warm. You pass a bakery where the dough is already rising for the morning. You smell the yeast. It reminds you that you are hungry again. The pottage is long gone. You stop by a public fountain. You splash water on your face. It's icy cold. It shocks you awake. Thomas meets you at the corner of Cheapside. He looks tired. Quiet night, he asks. Saw the nightmen and some drunk lordlings. Standard. Did they pay you? No, they threatened to stab me. Thomas chuckles. At least they acknowledged you. Last week, one of them pissed on my boots and didn't even stop walking. The sky begins to lighten. The grey turns to a bruised blue. The birds, the few that live in the city, start to chirp. The night is losing its grip. The shadows are retreating into the alleyways. You walk back to the post. You survived the smell. You survived the sword. You survived the cold. Another shift down. You hand over the lantern. The day watchman takes it. He smells of soap and breakfast. You hate him a little bit. Off with you, Thomas says. Same time tonight. Same time, you agree. You walk home. The city is waking up. The carts are rolling. The cycle begins again. You climb the stairs to your room. It feels smaller today, more oppressive. You check your stash in the wall. 0 pennies. You need work again. You lie down on the mattress. You close your eyes. You think about the silver spoon in the cesspit. You think about the noble boy with the sword. You wonder, just before sleep takes you, if there is really any difference between the two. Both are shiny, both are buried in filth, and both are completely out of your reach. You sleep, and in your dreams, you are falling into the dark and no one is there to catch you. You wake up, but this time it isn't the cold that rouses you. It isn't the bells or the carts. It is a throb, a deep, rhythmic, punishing pulse in your lower jaw. You've been ignoring it for days, a dull ache in your back molar. You told yourself it was just the cold air, or maybe you bit down too hard on a piece of grit in the bread. But denial is a luxury, and your credit has run out. Your face is swollen. You touch your cheek and wince. It feels hot, tight. You sit up, the world tilting slightly. A toothache in the medieval city isn't just an annoyance, it is a mortal threat. Infection is the silent killer here. If the rot gets into the jaw, into the blood, you are done. You try the home remedies first. You have a small pouch of dried sage. You chew on a leaf, spitting out the bitter juice. It does nothing. You rinse your mouth with the vinegar water. It stings, making your eyes water, but the throb continues, a relentless drumbeat inside your skull. You know what you have to do. You have to go to the barber, not for a haircut. In this world, the man who trims your beard is also the man who sets your bones, lances your boils and pulls your teeth. You grab your last remaining coins. This is going to cost you everything you have, and it is going to hurt more than anything else. You walk out into the blinding daylight. The noise of the city is agonizing. Every shout of a vendor, every clang of a hammer sends a spike of pain through your jaw. You walk with your hand cupped over your cheek, a universal sign of misery. People step out of your way. They know that look. You reach the shop. It's marked by a pole painted with red and white stripes. The red stands for blood, the white for bandages. It is truth in advertising. The shop smells of iron, old soap, and fear. The barber is a big man with forearms thick as tree branches. He's wiping a razor on a leather strop. Swish, swish. He looks at you, sees the swelling, and nods. Tooth! Tooth, you mumble, barely opening your mouth. Sit! The chair is wooden, sturdy, and stained dark. You sit. There are leather straps on the arms. You know what they're for. You grip the wood until your knuckles turn white. The barber doesn't. Offer you wine. He doesn't offer you a numbing draught. Anesthesia is a dream for the future. Here, anesthesia is hold still and try not to scream. He peers into your mouth, his fingers tasting of salt and metal. He prods the tooth. You yelp. Rotten to the root, he says cheerfully. Got to come out shilling. A shilling. 12 pennies. You don't have a shilling. I have 4 pennies, you say, your heart sinking. He frowns. 4 pennies gets you the pliers. No cleaning, no herbs for the bleeding. Fine. Right then. He turns to his table of instruments. It looks like a torture chamber in miniature. Hooks, scrapers, knives, and a pair of iron pliers that look like they belong in a blacksmith's forge. He picks up the pliers. He doesn't boil them. He doesn't wipe them with spirits. He just wipes them on his apron. Open wide. You open. You close your eyes. You brace your feet against the floor. He grips your jaw with one hand, a vice-like hold. He jams the pliers into your mouth. Metal scrapes against bone. He finds the tooth. He clamps down. The pain is blinding. It is white-hot and absolute. It fills your entire universe. Hold, he grunts. He twists. There's a sickening crunch, a tearing sound inside your head. You scream, but it's a muffled, choked sound. He pulls. With a wet pop, the tooth comes free. He tosses it into a bowl. Blood fills your mouth. warm and coppery. "Spit," he says. You lean forward and spit into a bucket of sawdust. You're shaking. Tears are streaming down your face. The barber hands you a rag. "Bite down on this." Stops the flow. You bite. The rag tastes of vinegar. "4 pennies, he says, holding out a hand. You fumble with your pouch. You drop the coins into his palm. "Good lad. Next." You stumble out of the chair. The world is spinning. The pain is different now. Sharp, raw, but the deep, throbbing pressure is gone. The rot is out. You walk out of the shop. The sun is too bright. You lean against a wall, breathing through your nose, clutching your jaw. You see a bowl in the window of the shop. It is filled with teeth. Hundreds of them. Molars, incisors, blackened stumps. A collection of the city's pain. You realize something grim. You're falling apart. You're 27 and you have lost a tooth. Your knees ache when it rains. Your lungs are full of soot. Your skin is scarred. The city is consuming you piece by piece. But you are still standing. You push off the wall. You have no money. You have a hole in your head. You are dizzy from blood loss. But you have to keep moving. You wander toward the river. The cold air feels good against your flushed skin. You sit on a dock piling, watching the water. You take the bloody rag out of your mouth and look at it. You survive the surgery. A group of children runs past, chasing a hoop with a stick. They are laughing, shouting, full of energy. They have all their teeth. You watch them with a mix of envy and pity. They don't know yet. They don't know about the barber. They don't know about the rent. They don't know about the cart, but they will. The city teaches everyone eventually. You stay there until the bleeding slows. You're exhausted, drained, but the throbbing is gone. That counts as a victory. You stand up. You have no money for food, but your mouth hurts too much to eat anyway. It's a convenient problem. You start the long walk back to the tenement. The sun is setting again. The cycle continues. You touch your cheek. It's tender, but the heat is fading. You are lighter. 1 tooth lighter. 4 pennies lighter. But you are still here. And in a medieval city, being still here is the only success story there is. The sun has dipped again, leaving the city in that bruised twilight that signals the shift change. The merchants are packing up, covering their stalls with heavy oilcloths. The workers are shuffling toward the taverns. You are shuffling toward the guard post, nursing your jaw and your empty stomach. Your shift tonight starts with a rumour. Thomas is already there, leaning on his pike, looking grim. "Heard about the king's man?" he asks, skipping the greeting. You shake your head, careful not to jar your teeth. "What king's man?" "Tax collector. Went missing in the Tanners district, just vanished. Poof. Like smoke." "Good riddance," you mumble through the side of your mouth. "Maybe. But the king doesn't like his coin purses disappearing. They sent the sheriff's men down there, breaking doors, asking questions." "We're not sheriff's men," you say. "Not our problem." "It is if the riot spills over into our ward. Keep your eyes open, lad. The city is angry tonight." You start your patrol. The mood on the street is tense. You can feel it. People aren't lingering. They're moving fast, heads down, hurrying to get behind locked doors. You walk past a group of men gathered around a barrel fire. They stop talking as you approach, watching you with hard, suspicious eyes. You keep your hand near your knife, but you don't stop. The Tanners district is a maze of vats and drying racks, usually deserted at night because of the smell. But tonight, there are lights. Torches moving in the distance, shouts. "Open up! In the name of the crown!" You stay on the perimeter. You aren't paid enough to get between a mob and the king's justice. But then you see him. A man running. Not away from the sheriff's men, but toward you. He's dressed in fine clothes, velvet and silk, but they are torn and muddy. He's panting, stumbling. He sees you and freezes. It's not a tanner. It's the tax collector, or someone who looks very much like one. "Help me," he gasps. "They're going to kill me." Behind him you hear the mob, a low roar of voices getting louder. "This way," someone shouts. "He went this way." You have a split second to decide. This man represents everything you hate. The taxes that starve you, the laws that trap you, the crown that ignores you. But he's also a man, alone, terrified, and about to be torn apart. "In here," you hiss, pointing to a narrow gap between 2 warehouses. It's a squeeze, barely wide enough for a dog, let alone a man in a doublet. He doesn't argue. He throws himself into the gap, pressing himself into the shadows. You stand your ground in the street, lifting your lantern. The mob rounds the corner, 5 men, tanners by the look of their stained aprons. They are armed with clubs and skinning knives. "Watchman," the leader barks. "Did you see him? The leech?" You look him in the eye. You keep your face blank. "Saw a man running north," you say, pointing down the main road toward the river. "Fast, like the devil was chasing him." The leader spits. "The devil will catch him soon enough. Come on, lads." They run past you, thundering down the street. You wait until their footsteps fade, then you tap the wall. Coast is clear. The man squeezes out. He is shaking. He looks at you, then at the direction the mob went. "Why?" he asks. "Why help me?" "I don't like mobs," you say simply, "and I don't like murder on my beat. Too much paperwork." He fumbles in his torn doublet. He pulls out a ring. Gold, set with a red stone. "Take it," he says. "It's all I have left." You look at the ring. It's worth more than you will earn in 10 years. It could buy you a house. It could buy you a way out. But it's also stolen, or will be seen as such. A watchman trying to pawn a noble's ring? That's a one-way ticket to the gibbet. "Keep your ring," you say. "It'll get me hanged. Just go. Get back to the high city before they realize I lied." He stares at you, stunned. Then he nods, turns, and runs into the dark, heading west. You stand there for a moment. Your jaw throbs. Your stomach grumbles. You just saved a man who would tax the shirt off your back, and you turn down a fortune. "Idiot," you whisper to yourself. But as you walk back toward your route, you feel a strange sense of power. The city didn't break you tonight. You made a choice. In a world where everything is forced on you, the cold, the hunger, the work, you chose who lived and who died. That's worth more than a ring. Maybe. Or maybe you're just delirious from the pain. You finish your shift. The sun comes up, painting the sky in streaks of pink and gold. It looks beautiful, indifferent. Thomas meets you at the post. "Quiet night?" "Quiet enough." "Here they never found the tax man," Thomas says, lighting his pipe. "Probably drowned in a vat of piss. Fitting end." "Probably," you agree. You walk home, you climb the stairs, you lay down, you close your eyes, and for a moment you see the flash of gold in the lantern light. The ring you didn't take. You sigh. You are a fool, but you are a fool who is still alive. And in the medieval city, that's the only punchline that matters. The seasons in the city don't change with leaves turning or flowers blooming. They change with the mud. Spring mud is wet and hopeful. Summer mud is dry dust that coats your lungs. Autumn mud is sticky, clinging to everything like a bad memory. But winter mud is a weapon. It freezes into jagged ruts that twist ankles and break cartwheels. It hides ice that sends horses sprawling. It is grey, hard, and unforgiving. You wake up shivering. The temperature has dropped significantly overnight. The water in your bucket is frozen solid, a block of ice you have to smash with the hilt of your knife just to get a drink. You hold a chunk of ice in your mouth, letting it melt. It numbs the lingering ache in your jaw where the tooth used to be. You dress in everything you own, both tunics, your leggings, your cloak. You wrap your feet in rags before putting on your boots, trying to create some insulation against the frozen ground. Today is market day again, but the market will be different. In winter, the food changes. The fresh vegetables are gone. Now it's turnips, parsnips, and onions, root vegetables that have been stored in clamps since the harvest. They are soft, shriveled, and taste of earth. The meat is salted or smoked, hard as wood. The fish is dried cod, stiff as a board. You head out. The air is crisp, sharp enough to cut. Your breath hangs in clouds before you. The city is quieter in winter. People conserve energy. They move slower. The shouting is muted by scarves wrapped around faces. Even the beggars are less aggressive, huddled in doorways trying to absorb the meagre heat from the stones. You walk past the river. The Thames is steaming. A thick mist rising from the water where the slightly warmer current meets the freezing air. It looks ghostly. You can't see the other bank. The ships are just shadows, masts looming out of the fog like dead trees. You're looking for work, as always, but winter work is scarce. Building stops because the mortar freezes. The fields are fallow. The river traffic slows. You find yourself near the city walls where the woodcutters bring their carts. Wood is the most precious commodity now. A bundle of faggots, sticks for kindling, costs a penny. A log costs 3. A cart has arrived, piled high with oak. The driver's arguing with a group of women. "Price is fixed," he shouts. 4 pennies a bundle. Take it or freeze." "Robbery," one woman screams. "It was 2 pennies last week." It got colder, he shrugs. Supply and demand. The oldest law. You watch them argue, you can't afford wood. You will be scavenging tonight, walking the riverbank looking for driftwood, or prowling the alleys for broken crates. You keep walking, you pass a churchyard. There is a funeral happening, a small group of people huddled around a fresh grave. The ground is hard, digging must have been brutal. You pause, crossing yourself. Death is busier in winter. The cold takes the old and the young. The winter fever, pneumonia, is stalking the tenements. You see the priest shivering in his thin vestments. He hurries through the Latin, the words tumbling out in a cloud of steam. Requiescat in pace. Rest in peace. It sounds like a luxury. You reach the hiring corner. It's almost empty, just a few desperate men stamping their feet. Anything? You ask a man you recognize, a bricklayer named Will. He shakes his head. Nothing. Ground's too hard to dig. Mortar won't set. We're all starving until the thaw. How long? Weeks, maybe months. Weeks. You have no money. You have a handful of dried beans in your room. This is the reality of the winter economy. You are seasonal labour in a world that just shut down for the season. You wander aimlessly. You end up near the great cathedral St. Paul's. The massive stone structure looms over the city, a mountain of piety. Outside the doors, the charity line has formed. Monks are distributing alms, bread and ale for the poor. You've never stood in the line before. You've always worked. You've always prided yourself on earning your keep. But pride doesn't fill a belly, and the cold is eating you from the inside out. You join the line. It moves slowly. You keep your head down, pulling your cloak tight. You don't want to be recognised. You feel a deep, burning shame in your gut. When you reach the front, a monk hands you a small loaf. It's dark, heavy bread, rye and pea flour, and a wooden cup of weak ale. God bless you, the monk says, not looking at you. He says it to everyone. It's a reflex. You take the bread, you drink the ale. It tastes like defeat, but it also tastes like survival. You walk away, chewing the bread. It sits heavy in your stomach. You realise something. The city doesn't care about your pride. It doesn't care about your work ethic. It only cares if you live or die. And today, you chose to live. You spend the rest of the day scavenging. You find a broken barrel stave near a tavern. You find a handful of coal that fell off a cart. You find a dead pigeon, fresh enough to eat if you boil it long enough. You're a hunter-gatherer in an urban wilderness. As the sun sets, turning the sky a brutal, icy blue, you head home. You climb the stairs. You enter your freezing room. You start a small fire with the barrel stave and the coal. It smokes, but it gives off heat. You boil the pigeon with the last of your beans. You sit by the fire, wrapping your hands around the warm bowl. You're alive, you're warm, you're fed. Outside, the wind howls, rattling the shutters. The city is locking down for the long freezing night. You listen to the wind. It sounds like a wolf scratching at the door. But you have fire, you have walls. You survive the shame of the breadline. You survive the cold. You close your eyes. Tomorrow you will wake up and do it again. Because winter is long, and you are stubborn. The winter deepens. It's not just cold now. It's a physical weight pressing down on the city. The Thames has frozen over. You walk down to the riverbank to see it. It's a spectacle. The water, usually black and churning, is a solid sheet of grey-white ice, stretching from bank to bank. Ships are trapped, their hulls locked in the grip of the frost. But the city, ever adaptable, has moved onto the ice. Fairs have sprung up. Tents are pitched on the frozen river. Merchants are selling hot chestnuts, spiced wine, and roasted apples. People are skating on bones, literally cow shin bones polished flat and tied to their boots. Children are sliding, laughing. It's a festival of the impossible. The river, the great divider, has become a bridge. You walk out onto the ice. It feels strange, unsettling. You're walking on water. You can hear the ice groaning beneath you, shifting with the tide that still flows deep below. A man is roasting an ox whole on a spit over a massive fire built right on the ice. The smell is intoxicating. Beef fat dripping onto the coals, sizzling. "Slice of beef," he shouts. "Penny a slice." You don't have a penny. You spent your last copper on firewood. You watch the people eating. They look happy. For a moment, the misery of the city is suspended. The cold has created a new world, a white frozen kingdom where the rules are different. But the cold also kills. You see a bundle of rags near one of the bridge pilings. It's not a bundle. It's a woman. She froze in the night, huddled against the stone. No one is moving her. She's part of the landscape now, a statue of ice and poverty. The contrast is brutal. On one side, a feast. On the other, death. You leave the ice. It feels too precarious, too deceptive. You head back into the city. The streets are empty. Everyone is at the Frost Fair. You see a door slightly ajar. It's a warehouse. You know it's full of wool bales. You pause. Stealing is a crime. A hanging crime. But the cold is a death sentence too. You look around. No one is watching. The watch is likely at the fair, warming themselves by the fire. You slip inside. The warehouse is dark, warm, and smells of sheep. You find a bale of raw wool. You pull a handful loose. It's greasy, tangled, but incredibly warm. You stuff it into your tunic, lining your chest and back. It feels like armor against the chill. You grab another handful for your boots. You're about to leave when you hear a noise. A cough. From the back of the warehouse. You freeze. "Who's there?" a voice croaks. It's a watchman. He must have been sleeping in the warmth. You don't answer. You run. "Halt, thief!" You burst out of the door, sprinting into the icy street. Your boots slip on the frozen mud. You scramble up, heart pounding. The watchman is behind you. He's old, slow, but he has a whistle. Trill! The sound cuts through the cold air. You duck down an alleyway. You know these streets. You know the shortcuts. You scramble over a low wall, dropping into a courtyard filled with snow. You hold your breath. The watchman runs past the alley mouth, his boots thudding heavily. You wait. 5 minutes. 10. The cold seeps through your cloak, but the wool inside your tunic holds the heat. You are safe. You climb back over the wall. You walk home, taking the long way. You are a thief now. A wool thief. But as you climb the stairs to your room, feeling the warmth of the stolen fleece against your skin, you don't feel guilty. You feel smart. You survived the Frost Fair. You survived the river. You survived the warehouse. You lie down on your mattress. The room is freezing, but you are warm. You close your eyes. The ice will break eventually. The river will flow again. The city will return to mud and noise. But tonight, the world is frozen, silent, and yours. The next morning brings a thaw. It's not a gentle warming. It's a collapse. The temperature jumps 10 degrees. The ice on the river cracks with sounds like cannon fire. The snow in the streets turns to grey slush instantly. The city weeps. Roofs drip. Gutters overflow. And the mud returns with a vengeance. You wake up to the sound of water. Not rain, but dripping. Your roof is leaking. A steady drip, drip, drip lands right on your nose. You groan, rolling over. The wool you stole is damp now, smelling of wet sheep. You get up. The world feels soggy. You go out. The Frost Fair is gone, washed away or dismantled in a panic as the ice broke. You head to the docks. The ships are free. Work returns. You get hired to unload a cargo of coal from Newcastle. It is filthy, heavy work. The coal dust mixes with the sweat and the damp, turning you into a black, glistening statue. You haul sacks all day. Your lungs burn with the dust. But at the end of the day, the captain pays you. 3 pennies. You buy bread. You buy ale. You buy a small candle. You walk home. The city is loud again. The carts are rolling. The shouting has returned. The freeze is over. The survival game shifts back to normal mode. You climb your stairs. You light your candle. You look at your hands, stained black with coal. You look at the wool peeking out of your tunic. You are a survivor of the ice. You sit by your small fire. You eat your bread. You think about the woman frozen under the bridge. You wonder if the river took her when the ice broke. Probably. You take a drink of ale. To the river, you whisper. It's not a toast. It's an acknowledgement. The river gives work, and the river takes life. You close your eyes. The drip from the roof has stopped. For tonight, you are dry. For tonight, you are fed. And in the medieval city, that is a good night. Spring arrives, not with flowers, but with a stench. As the ground thaws, everything that was frozen, the garbage, the offal, the waste, begins to decompose. The city, which had been merely smelly in winter, becomes an olfactory assault. The mud in the streets bubbles with gas. The river turns a sullen, churning brown. But spring also means Lent. For 40 days the city abstains. No meat, no eggs, no dairy. It is a time of penance, forced veganism, and universal grumpiness. You're used to not eating meat, but the lack of eggs and cheese hits hard. Your diet is now bread, fish, and vegetables, and fish in Lent is complicated. Fresh fish is expensive, so you eat salted fish, dried fish, pickled fish, fish that has been preserved so thoroughly it could probably survive a nuclear blast. You're eating stockfish, dried cod that is hard as wood. You have to beat it with a hammer before you can soak it. Then you boil it for hours. Tastes like chewy, salty leather. You're walking through the fish market. It is the busiest place in the city. Everyone is here, looking for something, anything, to break the monotony of the Lenten fast. You see barrels of herring, piles of dried cod, baskets of eels. Eels are the poor man's luxury. They are cheap, fatty and abundant in the Thames. You buy a small eel pie for a penny. The crust is thick, the filling is savoury and rich. It's not meat, but it feels like it. As you eat, you watch a procession. It's Palm Sunday. The bishop is riding a donkey through the streets, followed by monks waving palm fronds, which are actually just willow branches because palms don't grow in London. The crowd cheers. They throw their cloaks in the mud for the donkey to walk on. You watch with a cynical eye. The bishop is fat. The donkey looks tired. The mud will ruin the cloaks. But the people need this. They need the ritual. They need the promise that after the fasting comes the feast. Easter is coming. You get a job helping a mason repair the city wall. The winter frost damaged the mortar and sections are crumbling. It's good work. Skilled work. You're mixing mortar. Lime, sand and water. It burns your hands if you aren't careful, but it pays 4 pennies a day. You work high up on the scaffolding, looking out over the city. From here, London looks almost beautiful. The spires of the churches rise above the smoke. The river glitters in the spring sunshine. The red tile roofs form a patchwork quilt. You can see the Tower of London in the distance, its white walls stark against the blue sky. You feel a moment of vertigo, not from the height, but from the scale of it. Thousands of people, thousands of lives, all stacked on top of each other, fighting, eating, sleeping, dying. You're just one ant in the hill. "Hey, dreamer," the mason yells. "More mortar." You snap back to reality. You grab your shovel. Beauty is for people who don't have to work for a living. The week before, Easter is Holy Week. The city shuts down. No work, no markets, just church. You go to services because everyone goes. It's not optional. The church is dark, smelling of incense and damp stone. The Latin chants wash over you. You don't understand the words, but the music is haunting. You kneel on the cold floor, you think about your sins. Did you steal the wool? Yes. Did you lie to the guard? Yes. Did you envy the merchant? Every day. But are these sins? Or are they just survival? The priest talks about suffering, about sacrifice. You look at the crucifix, a man dying in pain. You understand that. The city understands that. Suffering is the universal language here. Easter Sunday explodes. The bells ring, all of them, all at once. It is a cacophony of joy. The fast is over. You spend your savings, a whole 6 pennies on a feast. You buy a majestic meat pie, pork, real pork. You buy a cup of strong ale. You buy a honey cake. You sit by the river in the sunshine. The grass on the bank is green. You eat until you are full. Actually full. It is a sensation you haven't felt in months. People are laughing, children are playing games with painted eggs. For one day, the city is not a trap, it is a home. You lie back in the grass. You close your eyes. The sun warms your face. You made it. You survived the winter. You survived Lent. You're alive in the spring. And as you drift into a nap, lulled by the bells and the river, you think, maybe this year will be better. Maybe. But the medieval city has a way of balancing the scales. Just as you start to relax, just as you start to hope, you hear a sound, a buzzing. A fly lands on your nose, then another. You swat them away. You sit up. The air is warmer. The wind has shifted. And with the warm wind comes the smell. The great stink is returning. The heat is waking up the gutters. The flies are hatching. Summer is coming. And summer in the city brings its own special kind of hell. Sweat, fever, and the return of the plague. You stand up, brushing the grass from your tunic. The feast is over. The work begins again. You walk back into the city, into the noise, into the smell. You are ready. You have to be. Because in the medieval city, survival isn't a destination, it's a job, and you just clocked in for the next shift. Summer hits the city like a physical blow. It's not the dry, pleasant heat of the countryside. It's a wet, suffocating blanket. The narrow streets trap the heat, baking the mud and the waste into a hard, cracked crust that smells of decay. The air is still, stagnant. There is no breeze to blow away the smoke or the flies, and the flies are everywhere. They swarm the food stalls. They buzz around your eyes. They land on your sweat-soaked skin. They are the true owners of the summer city. You are working at the dyers now. It's the hottest job in London. Dyeing cloth involves boiling huge vats of water, mixing in pigments, woad for blue, madder for red, weld for yellow. The vats have to be kept at a rolling boil. You stand over them, stirring with a long wooden paddle. The steam rises, thick and coloured. Your face is stained blue from the fumes. Your hands are permanently dyed. It's brutal. The heat from the fires combined with the summer sun is unbearable. You drink gallons of weak ale just to stay upright. "More wood!" the master dyer shouts. You throw logs into the fire. The flames roar. The sweat pours off you. You are dyeing wool for the winter coats of the wealthy. Heavy, expensive cloth. You wonder if the person who wears this coat will ever think about the man who boiled, himself alive to make it blue. Probably not. At noon, you collapse in the shade of the workshop wall. You drink water from a skin. It's warm, tasting of leather. A fellow worker, a boy named Jack, sits next to you. He is new, fresh from the country. He looks shell-shocked. "Is it always this hot?" he asks, wiping his forehead. "No," you say. "Sometimes it rains. Then it's hot and wet." He laughs weakly. "I miss the trees. I miss the wind." "Don't think about it," you advise. "Thinking makes it worse. Just stir." The afternoon drags on. The smell of the dye vats, ammonia from the urine used as a mordant to fix the colour, mixes with the city stench. It's a chemical assault. By the time the bell rings for the end of the day, you're exhausted, dehydrated, and blue. You walk to the river to wash. The Thames is low, sluggish. The mud banks are exposed, reeking of centuries of filth. You wade in. The water is cool, at least. You scrub your face, your arms. The blue dye fades a little, but your skin remains tinted. You look like a picked warrior. You sit on the bank, drying off in the evening sun. The city is loud. The heat makes people irritable. Fights break out in the taverns. Dogs snap at each other. You watch a barge float by, piled high with hay. It smells of summer meadows. For a second, you close your eyes and imagine you're on that barge, floating away, out of the smoke, out of the noise. But you can't. You have rent to pay. You head home. Your room is an oven. The roof tiles have absorbed the sun all day and are now radiating heat into the attic. You open the shutter, praying for a breeze. There is none. You lie on your mattress, sweating. You kick off the blanket. The mosquitoes arrive. They whine in your ear, landing on your ankles, your neck. You slap at them, cursing. Summer nights are sleepless nights. The heat, the bugs, the noise. You hear a shout from the street. "Water! Water!" A fight at the public pump. The water pressure is low, tempers are high. You listen to the argument. It escalates. A scuffle, a splash, then laughter. Someone got dunked in the trough. You smile in the dark, small justices. Sleep eventually comes, fitful and heavy. You dream of ice. You dream of the frost fair. You wake up sticky and tired. Another day in the dye vat. But as you walk to work, you see something. A cart is blocking the street. It's not a merchant's cart. It's a water cart selling fresh water from the country springs. "Sweet water," the driver calls. "Cold and sweet. Penny a jug." People are lining up. You check your pouch. You have your wages. You join the line. You buy a jug. You drink it right there. It is cold. It is clean. It tastes of nothing, which is the best taste in the world. You wipe your mouth. "Worth it," you whisper. You walk into the dye shop. The heat hits you. The smell hits you. But you have that cool water in your belly. You grab the paddle. You start to stir. Summer will end. The heat will break. Until then, you sweat. You endure. And you dream of autumn. The heat wave breaks in the only way it can. A thunderstorm. It starts in the afternoon. The sky turns a bruised, angry purple. The air grows heavy, electric. The birds stop singing. The city holds its breath. Then, the crack. Thunder that shakes the foundations of the dye shop. The rain comes down in sheets. It's not a drizzle. It's a deluge. It hammers the roofs, overflows the gutters, and turns the dust into rivers of mud. The temperature drops 10 degrees in 10 minutes. Inside the dye shop, the steam condenses. The air fills with mist. "Cover the vats," the master yells. "Don't let the rain dilute the colour." You scramble to pull heavy wooden lids over the boiling pots. The rain pounds against the workshop roof, a deafening roar. You stand by the door, watching the street turn into a canal. People are running for cover, soaked to the skin. It's chaos, but it's a relief. The air is clearing, the smell is washing away. That evening, the city feels different. Scrubbed clean. You walk home through puddles that reflect the lanterns. The air is cool, almost chilly. You breathe deeply. No smoke, no rot, just whetstone and rain. You stop at a tavern. You have coin. You deserve a celebration. Inside, it is crowded. Everyone has the same idea. "To the rain!" a man shouts, raising his tankard. "To the rain!" the room echoes. You buy a cup of ale and find a seat near the fire. It's pleasant to be near a fire again, now that the world isn't baking. A minstrel is playing in the corner. He's not very good. His lute is out of tune and his voice is scratchy. But he sings a song about a knight and a dragon. You listen, letting the music wash over you. For a few hours, you aren't a dyer. You aren't a watchman. You aren't a rat catcher. You're just a man in a tavern, drinking ale, listening to a story. This is the magic of the city. It beats you down, but it also gives you these moments, these pockets of light in the dark. You walk home late. The stars are out, scrubbed bright by the storm. You reach your tenement. The stairs creak. The door sticks. You lie down. The mattress is still lumpy. The room is still small, but tonight you sleep well. The heat is gone. The rain has washed the world new. You dream of nothing, just quiet, cool darkness. And when you wake up, the sun is shining. It's a new day. The mud is drying. The work is waiting. But you are ready. You are a survivor of the medieval city. You have faced fire, plague, ice, and heat. You're still here. And as you step out into the morning light, you realize something. You might even be starting to like it. Just a little. But the city, as always, has other plans. As you walk toward the market, you see a crowd gathering near the city gates. Not a market crowd, a fearful crowd. Soldiers are barring the way. "Gates closed," a sergeant shouts. "Why?" a merchant demands. "My carts are outside." "Rebels," the sergeant says, spitting on the ground. "Peasant revolt. They're marching on London." The crowd gasps. A revolt. An army of angry farmers armed with scythes and axes coming to burn the city that starves them. You feel a chill that has nothing to do with the weather. Fire, plague, ice. You can handle those. Nature is cruel but impersonal. War is different. War is men killing men. You look at the walls. They look high. They look strong. But are they strong enough? You grip your knife. You check your pouch. The city is under siege again. Not by disease this time. By anger. You turn back. You need supplies. You need to hide. The survival game just changed levels, and you are playing for keeps. The news of the revolt spreads faster than the plague. By noon, the entire city knows. Wat Tyler. That's the name on everyone's lips. A Tyler from Kent who has raised an army of peasants. They are marching on London, demanding an end to serfdom, an end to the poll tax, an end to the nobility. It's terrifying. It's exhilarating. You walk through the streets, and the mood is electric. The poor are whispering in corners, eyes shining. Could it happen? Could the world turn upside down? The rich are panicked. Servants are seen running errands with frantic urgency, buying weapons, hiding silver. The goldsmiths are boarding up their shops. The city is a powder keg, and Wat Tyler is the match. You need to decide where you stand. Are you a city man, loyal to the walls that protect you? Or are you a peasant at heart, loyal to the people who suffer like you? You look at your hands, stained blue from the dye, calloused from the stone. You are neither. You are a survivor. Survivors don't pick sides until the battle is won. You head to the armory. The city militia is being called up. They're handing out weapons to anyone willing to stand on the walls. "Name?" the clerk asks. You give it. "Experience?" "Night watch, rat catcher." He hands you a padded jack, a heavy quilted coat, and a spear. "North wall," he says. "Don't let them climb." You march to the wall. It's crowded. Men from every trade are here. Bakers with rolling pins tucked in their belts, smiths with hammers, dyers with blue arms. You stand on the ramparts looking out. In the distance you see them, a dark mass on the horizon. Smoke rising from burning manors in the countryside. The rebel army. They aren't soldiers, they are a mob, but a mob of 50,000 is a force of nature. They reach the gates by sunset. They don't attack. They camp. Thousands of fires spring up in the fields, surrounding the city like a ring of stars. They are singing songs of freedom, songs of anger. When Adam delved and Eve span, who was then the gentleman? The chant echoes off the stone walls. It chills you. It's a question that cuts to the bone of the medieval world. Who decided that some men rule and others starve? The night is long. You don't sleep. You watch the fires. Inside the city there is unrest. Sympathizers are opening. Gates. Rumours fly. The king is negotiating. The king is fleeing. The king is dead. Suddenly a roar goes up from the south. The bridge. Someone has lowered the drawbridge. The rebels are pouring in. They're inside, a man screams. The city has fallen. Chaos. The militia dissolves. Men throw down their spears and run, some to join the rebels, some to hide. You stand there, spear in hand. What do you do? If you fight, you die. If you run, you might live. You drop the spear. You strip off the padded jack. You're just a citizen again, a face in the crowd. You run down the stairs, into the streets. The rebels are here. They aren't killing everyone. They are targeting the rich, the lawyers, the tax collectors. You see a group of them dragging a man from his house. He is screaming. They are cheering. It's the tax collector you saved in the alley months ago. You stop. You could help him. You could intervene. But there are 20 of them, and they have axes. He sees you. His eyes lock onto yours. He remembers. "Help me," he screams. You look away. You walk past. You're a survivor, and survivors know when to walk away. You hear the thud of the axe behind you. You don't flinch. The city burns. The rebels set fire to the Savoy Palace, the home of the king's uncle. The flames light up the sky, turning the night into a hellscape of orange and black. They break open the prisons, the Fleet, Newgate. Prisoners flood the streets, chains dangling, laughing maniacally. It is anarchy. You hide in your room, you bolt the door, you push the chest against it. You listen to the screams, the laughter, the fire. This is the end of the world. Or maybe the beginning of a new one. You don't know. You just know you are hungry, and you are scared. Morning comes. The city is still standing, but it is scarred. The rebels are in control. Wat Tyler is meeting with the king at Smithfield. You venture out. The streets are strange. The usual hierarchy is gone. Peasants are walking in the middle of the road. Nobles are hiding. You see a man wearing a velvet cloak over his rags. He's eating a roast swan. "Want a bite?" he offers, grinning. You take it. It tastes of grease and victory. "What happens now?" you ask. "Now," he says. "Now we're all kings." He is wrong. You know he is wrong. Kings have armies. Kings have gold. Kings have patience. The rebels have anger. Anger burns out. The meeting at Smithfield goes wrong. Wat Tyler is killed, stabbed by the mayor of London. The king, a boy of 14, rides out to the rebel army. "I will be your leader," he shouts. "Follow me." And they do. They follow him out of the city, back to the fields, and then the king's army arrives. The slaughter begins. You watch from the walls. The rebels are cut down. The dream of freedom dies in the mud. The city returns to normal. The heads of the rebel leaders are put on spikes on London Bridge. Wat Tyler's head is dipped in tar so it lasts longer. You walk past it on your way to work. The eyes are open, staring at nothing. You feel a strange kinship with him. He tried, he failed, but he tried. The city grinds on, the taxes return, the lords return. You go back to hauling stone. You go back to catching rats. Nothing changed, except you. You saw the world turn upside down. You saw the fragility of power. You realize the city isn't a fortress. It's a stage, and the play can change at any moment. You keep your head down, you save your pennies, but you keep your knife sharp, just in case. The aftermath of the rebellion is a strange time. The city is quieter, but it's a tense, fearful quiet. The king's men are patrolling the streets, looking for anyone who might have aided the rebels. You keep your head down. You don't wear the red ribbon you bought for the girl. Red is the colour of rebellion now. You work hard. You don't complain. You pay your rent, but the city feels different. The illusion of permanence is gone. You know now that the walls can be breached, the lords can be frightened, and the rats are thriving. The fires left plenty of ruins for them to nest in. The bodies left plenty of food. The rat catcher is busy. He hires you again. "Good time for business," he says, whacking a rat with his club. Chaos is good for vermin. Which vermin, you ask? The ones with tails or the ones with crowns? He laughs. Both, lad. Both. One evening you're walking home when you see a crowd gathered near a church. Not a riot. A play. A troupe of travelling actors has set up a stage on a cart. They are performing a mystery play, stories from the Bible. Tonight it's Noah's Ark. You watch. The actors wear masks. God is a man on stilts with a gold face. Noah is a buffoon who keeps dropping his hammer. The crowd laughs. For a moment the fear lifts. You see the girl you gave the ribbon to. She's standing near the front, watching with wide eyes. She isn't wearing the ribbon. Smart girl, she sees you, she smiles. A small, secret smile. You nod back. The play ends with a rainbow made of painted cloth. It's fake. It's cheap. It's beautiful. You walk away feeling lighter. Art. Even bad art. It reminds you that you are human, not just a worker, not just a survivor, a person who can imagine a better world, even if it's just made of painted cloth. Winter comes again. You're ready this time. You have saved wood. You have patched your clothes. You have a little extra fat on your bones from the summer work. But this winter brings a new threat. The sweating sickness. It strikes fast. One moment you're fine. The next you're drenched in sweat, shivering, delirious. Within hours you're dead. It kills the rich as easily as the poor. It doesn't care about walls or fires. You see the coffins piling up outside the churches. You wash your hands until they bleed. You avoid crowds. You sit in your room, listening to the wind, and you wait. One night you wake up sweating. Panic grips you. Is this it? You touch your forehead. It's hot. You sit up, trembling. You drink water. You pray. You wait for the end. Morning comes. The fever breaks. It wasn't the sickness, just a cold. You laugh. A hysterical, shaking laugh. You survived again. The Grim Reaper mist. You go to the window, you open the shutter, the city is covered in snow. White, pristine, silent. It looks peaceful. It looks innocent. You know it's a lie. Under the snow is the mud. Under the silence is the scream. But for now, it's beautiful. You take a deep breath of the cold air. I'm still here, you whisper. And the city, in its own way, whispers back. So am I. Years pass. You grow older. Your back is bent. Your hands are scarred. You have lost another tooth. But you have survived. You're a fixture in the neighbourhood. People know you. Ask old Will, they say. He knows where to find cheap wood. He knows which baker cheats. You have become part of the city's memory. You sit on your bench outside the tenement. The sun is setting. A young man walks by. He looks tired, hungry, scared. He reminds you of yourself 20 years ago. Boy, you call out. He stops. Sir? Don't buy the pies from the stall with the red awning. They use cat meat. He blinks. Thank you. And keep your knife sharp. The night is long. He nods and walks on. You watch him go. The cycle continues. New blood feeding the old machine. But you're done running. You've carved out a small space in the chaos. A warm corner. A full bowl. It's not a kingdom, but it's yours. You close your eyes. You listen to the bells. They ring for weddings. They ring for funerals. They ring for fires. They ring for you. You are the medieval city. You are the mud and the stone and the survival. And you wouldn't have it any other way. The winter of 1389 is particularly vicious. The Thames freezes so solid that they say you can drive a cart from London Bridge to Westminster. You don't test it. You know better than to trust ice, especially when it's covering a river that has swallowed more bodies than the plague pits. You are older now, maybe 40. In this city, that makes you an elder. Your hair is grey, your beard is thin, and your left knee locks up whenever the damp sets in. You walk with a stick, not for style, but for balance, and occasionally for hitting stray dogs. You are no longer hauling stone. Your back gave out 5 years ago. Now you work as a night watchman full-time. It's steady work. It pays 4 pennies a night. It keeps you fed. But tonight, the cold is a physical enemy. It presses against your chest, making every breath a struggle. You're wrapped in 3 cloaks, 2 of them stolen from dead men, but the chill still finds the gaps. You're patrolling near the shambles again. The butchers have gone home, leaving the gutters running red with blood that has frozen into a slick crimson ice. It's treacherous. You hear a sound, a whimper. You stop. You lift your lantern. Who's there? No answer, just the wind whistling through the eaves. You move closer to a pile of discarded crates. There, huddled in the corner, is a dog, not a stray. This dog has a collar, a silver collar. It's a noble's dog, a hunting hound, sleek and thin, shivering violently. It looks at you with big, terrified eyes. You know what this means. A lost dog like this has a reward attached, a big reward, but it's also freezing. If you leave it, it dies. If you take it, you risk being accused of theft. You're trouble, you tell the dog. The dog licks its nose. You sigh. You reach out a hand. The dog flinches, then creeps forward, pressing its cold nose against your palm. Fine. Come on. You tuck the dog inside your cloak. It's heavy, bony, and smells of expensive soap. You finish your patrol with a shivering greyhound pressed against your ribs. It warms you up, actually. You take it back to the guard post. Thomas is there, asleep by the brazier. Wake up, you say. We have a guest. Thomas blinks awake. He sees the dog. Is that a hunting hound? Found it in the shambles? That's Lord Percy's crest on the collar, Thomas says, eyes widening. The Earl of Northumberland? Well, the Earl needs to keep better track of his pets. You feed the dog a piece of sausage. It eats it in one gulp. What are you going to do? Thomas asks. Wait until morning, take it to the Earl's house, collect the reward, or get whipped for stealing it. I'm an old man, Thomas. If they whip me, I'll just die. Saves me the trouble of starving. Morning comes. The dog is asleep on your feet. You wake it up. Let's go, your lordship. You walk to the Strand, where the great nobles have their palaces. The houses here are magnificent. Stone walls, manicured gardens, guards in livery. You approach the gate of Northumberland House. The guard looks down at you with disdain. Clear off, beggar. You open your cloak, the greyhound sticks its head out. The guard's jaw drops. That's Jupiter. Jupiter? Ridiculous name for a dog, you mutter. I found him. The guard opens the gate. Wait here? He runs inside. A few minutes later, a steward comes out. He's dressed in silk. He looks at the dog, then at you. You found him? In the shambles. Freezing. The steward takes the dog. He doesn't thank you. He reaches into a purse and pulls out a coin. A gold noble. You stare at it. That's 6 shillings. 8 pennies. That's a year's wages. For your trouble, the steward says, handing it to you. You take it. Your hand shakes. Thank you, my lord. He turns and walks away. The gate slams shut. You stand there, clutching the gold coin. You're rich. You could buy a house. You could buy a shop. You could leave the city. But you won't. You know yourself. You're a creature of habit. You walk back to your tenement. You hide the coin in the wall, deep in the crack where the rats can't reach it. It is your safety net, your retirement fund, your funeral money. You go to the tavern. You buy a round for the house. To Jupiter, you toast. To Jupiter, the drunks cheer, having no idea who Jupiter is. You drink, you laugh, you feel warm. For one night you are the king of the city. The years roll on. 1390, 1391, 1392. The city changes. New buildings go up. Old ones burn down. The king quarrels with the city of London. The mayor is thrown in prison. The king demands a loan. The city refuses. The king takes away the city's liberties. It's all high politics. It doesn't affect you. Your rent stays the same. The mud stays the same. But you are slowing down. Your breath comes shorter. Your cough is deeper. One night, on patrol, you see a fire. Not a chimney fire. A real fire. A warehouse near the docks. It is blazing. You blow your whistle. You shout, "Fire! Fire!" The bucket brigade forms, but you can't join it. Your arms are too weak to lift the water. You stand back, watching the young men run, watching them sweat, watching them fight the beast. You realize your time is passing. You're the old guard now. The fire is put out. The warehouse is gone, but the street is saved. A young watchman comes up to you. He is panting, soot-streaked. "Did we do good, old man?" "You did good," you say. "You saved the block." He grins. "Maybe I'll get a coin for this." "Maybe," you say. "Don't spend it all on ale." He laughs and runs off. You watch him go. You remember being him. The energy, the hope, the stupidity. You turn away. You walk back to the post. You sit by the brazier. You feel cold. Deep cold. It's not the winter. It's you. Your fire is banking down. You die in your sleep 3 weeks later. It's a peaceful death. No plague. No knife. Just a heart that got tired of beating. Thomas finds you when you don't show up for your shift. He comes to your room. He sees you lying there. He closes your eyes. He finds the gold coin in the wall. He uses it to pay for your burial, a proper burial, in a churchyard, with a stone, not a pauper's grave. The stone is small. It just says, "Here lies Will, watchman." It's enough. You survived the city. You beat the odds. You lived a full life in a world that wanted to kill you every single day. And in the end, you bought your own piece of earth. The city moves on. The carts roll. The bells ring. The smoke rises. But for a moment, as Thomas stands over your grave, the city is quiet. A silent salute to a survivor. And then, the wind picks up. The rain starts. And the watch begins again. But death, as it turns out, isn't the end of your story. Not really. Because in the medieval city, even the dead have a job to do. You are buried, yes. But you are buried in London. And London doesn't have enough space for the living, let alone the dead. 50 years pass. The city grows. It spills over its walls, eating up the fields where you once watched the gibbets. The churchyard where you rest becomes crowded. Overcrowded. They need the space. So, one damp morning in 1442, a sexton, us, gravedigger, comes to your patch of earth. He is young, whistling a tune, and he drives his spade into the ground. He hits wood, your coffin, or what's left of it. The wood has rotted away, becoming part of the soil. He digs deeper. He finds bones, your bones. He doesn't treat them with reverence. He treats them like what they are, old tenants who have been evicted. He gathers them up, skull, femurs, ribs, and tosses them into a wheelbarrow. "Up you get, old-timer," he mutters. "Make way for the new blood." He wheels you across the yard to the charnel house. It's a crypt, a bone storehouse beneath the church. Inside it is cool and dry. The walls are lined with skulls, thousands of them, stacked in neat geometric patterns. Femurs are arranged like firewood. This is your new home. You are part of the architecture now, a silent witness. You're placed on a shelf, nestled between a baker and a nun. And from here, you watch. You watch the Reformation sweep through. You watch as men in black robes smash the stained glass windows and tear down the statues of saints. You watch as the monasteries are dissolved, the monks turned out into the streets. The city changes faith, but it keeps its habits. The greed remains, the hunger remains, the mud remains. You watch the Great Fire of 1666. You feel the heat even down in the crypt. The roar of the flames is deafening. The stone of the church cracks. The roof collapses, but the crypt holds. You are safe, protected by the earth once again. When the smoke clears, the city above is gone. The timber houses, the narrow alleys, the leaning tenements all turn to ash. But they rebuild. They always rebuild. This time they build in brick and stone. Wider streets, taller churches. St. Paul's rises again, a white dome dominating the skyline. You're still there, waiting. Centuries pass. The gas lamps arrive, hissing in the fog, then the electric lights, banishing the night forever. The noise changes. The clatter of hooves is replaced by the rumble of engines. The shouts of hawkers are replaced by the sirens, but the city is still the city. People still rush. People still worry about money. People still get cold. One day, in the year 2024, a construction crew arrives. They are digging a foundation for a new skyscraper. Their machines tear into the earth, deeper than anyone has dug before. They break through the wall of the old crypt. Light floods in, sunlight, harsh and bright. An archaeologist climbs down. She wears a hard hat and a high-visibility vest. She brushes the dirt from your skull. "Medieval," she says into a radio. "Late 14th century, male, worked hard. Look at the wear on the vertebrae." She picks you up. She holds you gently. For the first time in 600 years, you are seen. You're catalogued. You're studied. They put you in a box, a clean plastic box. They take you to a museum. You're placed in a glass case. A little card next to you reads, "Unknown Londoner, Watchman, C. 1390. People walk by, tourists, students, children. They look at you. They shiver. "He looks so small," a girl whispers. "Life was hard back then," her mother says. "You want to laugh? Hard? Yes. But it was life. You watch them. You see their clothes, their phones, their clean teeth. They look soft. They look comfortable. But you see the same look in their eyes. The worry, the rush. They are still surviving. just in a different way. You are the watchman, and your watch never truly ended. You're still here, still part of the city, still listening to the hum of London, and as the museum lights dim for the night, you settle back into the silence. You survived. You endured. You became history. And that, my friend, is the greatest trick of all. But let's go back before the museum, back before the fire, back to the very beginning of your story in the city, to a detail you might have missed in the blur of survival. The rats. You hated them, you hunted them, you killed them by the sackful. But the rats had a story too. While you were fighting for scraps in the market, the rats were building an empire beneath your feet. They had their own cities in the sewers, their own wars, their own kings. There was a rat, a big scarred black rat who lived under the bakery on Pudding Lane. He was smart. He knew how to avoid the traps. He knew which wood was rotten enough to chew through. He watched you. He watched you save the baby. He watched you steal the wool. He watched you feed the beggar. And in his own way, he respected you, because you were both the same, scavengers, survivors, creatures of the dark. When you died, that rat was there. He watched from the rafters as Thomas closed your eyes. He didn't eat you, he left you be. A professional courtesy. Because in the medieval city, even the vermin know honour when they see it. So tonight, as you lie in your warm bed, listening to the wind outside, think of the watchman, think of the rat, think of the cold stone of the city wall, think of the millions of lives layered on top of each other, pressing down into the earth, creating the foundation you walk on today. You are part of that story now. You carry their history in your bones. Sleep well. The city is watching over you, and somewhere, deep in the dark, the river is still flowing, and the watch continues. The museum is quiet now. The janitor is mopping the floor, his bucket wheels squeaking rhythmically. Squeak, squeak. It reminds you of the cartwheels on the cobblestones. It reminds you of the rat catcher's boots. You are just bones in a box, but bones have memory. The calcium holds the echo of the heavy loads you carried, the cold you endured, the malnutrition that stunted your growth. But let's drift back again. Let's go deeper into the sensory memory of the city. Let's talk about the one thing you truly, deeply missed when you were alive, and the one thing you never got enough of. Quiet. True quiet. In the medieval city, silence was a myth. Even at night there was always something. A dog barking at the moon, a baby crying with colic, the watchman, you, calling the hour, the river lapping against the pilings. You craved silence like a starving man craves bread. You remember one time, just one, when you found it. It was during the Great Plague before you got sick. You had been hired to deliver a message to a monastery outside the city walls, a Carthusian monastery. Carthusians were hermits. They took vows of silence. They lived in individual cells, praying, working, never speaking. You walked into their courtyard. The walls were high stone, blocking out the wind. The garden was perfectly tended, rows of herbs and flowers, and it was silent. Not the heavy, fearful silence of a plague house. A peaceful, deliberate silence. You stood there holding the message, and you felt your shoulders drop. You felt the tension drain out of your neck. A monk walked past you. He wore a white robe. He didn't look at you. He didn't speak. He just glided, a ghost in the daylight. You breathed in. The air smelled of lavender and beeswax. No sewage, no smoke, no rot. For 10 minutes, you stood in that garden, and you felt like you were in a different world. A world where struggle didn't exist. You wanted to stay. You wanted to drop to your knees and beg them to let you in. You would take the vow. You would never speak again. You would trade your voice for that peace. But you couldn't. You were a city creature. You had debts. You had duties. You had a life, messy and loud as it was. So you delivered the message to the porter, who spoke only in whispers, and you left. As you walked back through the city gates, the noise hit you like a physical blow. The shouting, the clanging, the roar of humanity. It hurt. It actually hurt your ears. But it also felt right. Because silence is beautiful, but it is also lonely. And the noise is proof of life. The noise is people fighting to exist. It is the sound of 1,000 stories being told at once, and you were one of them. Now, in the museum, it is silent. Air-conditioned, temperature-controlled silence. It is what you always wanted. And yet, You miss the noise. You miss Thomas grumbling about his knee. You miss the baker yelling at his apprentice. You miss the sound of the rain on the thatch, because that noise was your noise. It was the soundtrack of your survival. You look at the visitors when they come. They are loud. They talk on their phones. They laugh. They complain about their feet. You listen to them. You collect their sounds. I'm hungry. My feet hurt. I want to go home. It's the same song. The lyrics have changed. The language has evolved, but the tune is identical. The human condition hasn't changed in 600 years. We're all just trying to get through the day. We're all just looking for a warm place to sleep. We're all just hoping the winter won't be too hard. You feel a kinship with them. These soft, clean, loud people. They are your descendants. Not by blood, maybe, but by spirit. They are the survivors of the survivors, and you are their ancestor. The watchman who stood in the dark so they could stand in the light. Let's shift the lens one last time. Let's look at the things you didn't see. The things that were happening around you, invisible to your tired eyes. The magic, not the spell-casting kind. The real magic. The alchemy of the city. You saw the mud. But did you see what the mud made? The mud made the bricks that built the houses. The mud grew the flax that made your linen. The mud fed the pigs that fed you. The city was a living organism, constantly consuming itself and rebirthing itself. The waste you threw in the street became the fertilizer for the fields outside the walls. The ashes from your fire became the lye for the soap maker. The rags you wore until they fell apart became the paper for the scribes. Nothing was wasted. Everything transformed. You were part of that transformation. Your labor built the walls, your coins fed the economy. Your breath warmed the air. You were an alchemist, turning sweat into survival. And there was beauty too. If you knew where to look, the way the light hit the river at sunset, turning the sewage brown water into liquid gold. The intricate carving on the wooden beam of a tavern, done by a craftsman who cared, even though no one noticed. The sound of a choir singing in a distant church, their voices rising above the smoke, pure and clear. The taste of a perfectly ripe pear stolen from a cart, exploding with juice in your mouth. These were the sparks in the dark, the moments that made the struggle bearable. You collected them, like you collected coins. You hoarded them in your memory, and now, in the silence of the museum, you take them out and look at them. They are still bright. They still shine. The janitor finishes mopping. He turns off the last overhead light. The museum is plunged into darkness, save for the green glow of the exit signs. It reminds you of the lantern light. You are back on patrol. The glass case is your guard post. The museum is your ward. You watch the shadows. You listen to the settling of the building. You are still on duty, because a watchman never really quits. You settle your bones into the velvet lining of the box. It's softer than straw, much softer. You are comfortable, finally. You close your empty eye sockets. You drift. The river is flowing. The bells are ringing, the city is sleeping, and you are safe. Good night, watchman. Good night, London. The shift is over. Sleep well. Before we leave the medieval city entirely, let's zoom out. Let's float up from the mud, past the leaning timber frames, above the smoke of the chimneys, until we are looking down at the city like a map. From here, it looks less like a trap and more like a living thing. A sprawling organic creature huddled against the curve of the river. The walls are its skin protecting the soft tissue inside. The streets are veins, pumping people and goods. The market is the heart, beating with commerce. And you? You are a single red blood cell. Tiny, invisible from this height, but vital. Without you, the oxygen doesn't move. Without you, the system fails. It's easy to look back at history and see only the kings and the wars. The big names, Richard, Henry, Edward. They are the ones with the statues, but the city wasn't built by Richard. It was built by Will, by Thomas, by the baker, by the gong farmer. It was built by millions of small acts of endurance, by the woman who scrubbed the floors, by the man who laid the bricks, by the child who chased the rats, by you. You are the foundation. You are the mortar between the stones. Now let's drift forward again. Fast forward. The medieval city burns, rebuilds, burns again. The Black Death comes and goes. The wars rage and end. The Industrial Revolution arrives. The sky turns black with coal smoke, darker than any medieval winter. The noise becomes mechanical, rhythmic, relentless. Then the blitz. Fire rains from the sky again. The city burns again, but it survives. It always survives. And now the modern city. Glass and steel, neon and concrete. It looks different. It smells different. But is it? Look closer. Look at the commuter on the subway, exhausted, staring at nothing. Is that look so different from the look you had after hauling stone all day? Look at the person scavenging for cans in the bin. Is that so different from digging for bones in the alley? Look at the crowds in the shopping mall, pushing, buying, consuming. Is that so different from the cheapside market? The technology changes. The struggle remains. We're still building walls against the cold. We're still trying to keep the fire lit. We're still hoping the winter won't be too hard. So, as you drift off to sleep tonight, in your warm bed with your clean sheets, remember this. You come from a long line of survivors. Your ancestors fought the wolf, the plague, the famine, and the cold. They endured things that would break a modern person in a day, and they did it so you could be here, so you could have this moment of peace. You carry their strength in your DNA. You carry their resilience in your bones when you feel overwhelmed by the noise of your own life, by the stress, by the worry. Remember the watchman. Remember standing in the rain with a pike and a lantern, guarding a sleeping city. Remember the taste of the hot onion soup. Remember the warmth of the stolen wool. Remember that you can handle it. You have handled worse. The museum is silent. The city outside is humming, a low electric vibration. You are the link between the two. You're the memory keeper. Sleep now. Rest. The watch is done. The dawn is coming, and you are safe. But before the final fade to black, let's take one last sensory walk. Let's ground ourselves one more time in the tactile reality of the past, just to make the present feel that much softer. Close. Your eyes. Feel the rough wool of your tunic against your skin. Itches, doesn't it? A constant low-level irritation. Feel the cold seeping up through the soles of your boots. Your toes are numb, tingling slightly. Smell the wood smoke. It's everywhere. In your hair, in your clothes, it smells of oak and pine, sharp and comforting. Taste the ale, sour, yeasty, lukewarm. It coats your tongue. Hear the bell, clang, clang. The sound travels through the heavy damp air. Now let it go. Let the wool turn into cotton. Let the cold floor turn into a soft mattress. Let the wood smoke turn into fresh air. Let the sour ale turn into cool water. Let the bell fade into silence. You are here. You are now. The medieval city is just a dream. A ghost story you told yourself to feel grateful. And it worked. You are warm. You are clean. You are full. You are the king of your own castle. Good night. But perhaps the city was too much for you. The noise, the mud, the crushing density of the poor. Maybe as you drifted off, you found yourself wishing for something better. Something higher. You imagined stone walls, high towers, and the life of the nobility. You thought, if I had been born rich, I would have been warm. So let's try that. Let's re-roll the dice of history. The museum fades. The glass case dissolves. The modern world melts away. You open your eyes. You're not in a tenement. You're not in a mud hut. You're in a castle. Specifically, you're in the great keep of a fortress on the Welsh border. It is the dead of winter, 1284, and you have never been colder in your entire life. You are lying in a bed, a real bed with a wooden frame and velvet curtains. You're covered in furs. You're wearing a nightshirt made of fine linen, and you're shivering so violently your teeth are clicking together like castanets. Here is the truth about castles. They are not homes. They are military fortifications designed to withstand sieges, not to keep you cozy. They are essentially giant vertical stone refrigerators. The walls are 10 feet thick. In the summer, they keep the heat out. In the winter, they trap the cold in. The stone absorbs the frost from the outside and radiates it into your room with the efficiency of a block of ice. You pull the furs tighter. It does nothing. The cold is coming from under the bed, from the floor, from the walls themselves. You look at the tapestry hanging on the opposite wall. It depicts a hunting scene. Stags and hounds frozen in thread. The tapestry is moving. It is billowing in and out, breathing like a lung. That's because behind it there is no insulation. Just a slit window, an arrow loop, open to the gale force winds outside. The tapestry is the only thing stopping the wind from blowing out your candle, but it doesn't stop the temperature drop. You decide to get up. You need to find a fire. You slide out of the high bed. Your feet hit the floor. It's stone. Flagstones quarried from the freezing earth. If the dirt, floor of the city tenement was cold, this is worse. This is a heat sink. It sucks the warmth straight out of your soles. You scramble for your slippers, leather-lined with rabbit fur, a luxury. You wrap a heavy wool robe around yourself and step out of your chamber. You're in a spiral staircase. It acts like a wind tunnel, channeling the draft from the cellar to the battlements. A howl of wind rushes past you, smelling of damp stone and old iron. You descend toward the great hall. This is the heart of the castle, the centre of life. Surely it will be warm. You push open the heavy oak doors. The great hall is cavernous. The ceiling soars 40 feet above you, lost in shadow. In the centre of the room is the hearth. It is massive, big enough to roast an ox, but the fire is banked for the night. It is a mound of grey ash with a faint, sullen red glow at the centre. And because the room is so huge, the heat dissipates instantly. It rises up to the rafters where the birds nest, leaving the floor, where the people are, freezing. You are not alone. The floor of the great hall is covered in bodies. Servants, guards, pages, visiting knights. Anyone who doesn't have a private chamber sleeps here. They are huddled together on the rushes, wrapped in cloaks, sleeping with the dogs. It smells. You thought the city smelled bad? The castle has its own unique bouquet. It smells of unwashed bodies, yes, but also of rotting food scraps dropped into the rushes and left there for weeks. It smells of wet dogs. It smells of the smoke that never quite escapes the louvre in the roof. And it smells of the garderobes, the toilets built into the walls, which vent directly into the moat or the courtyard, allowing the scent to waft back in through every window. You step carefully over a sleeping guard. He grunts and rolls over, clutching his spear like a teddy bear. You make your way to the hearth. You grab an iron poker and stir the ash, uncovering the coals. You throw on a log. It catches. A flame flickers. You hold your hands out. Your palms get hot. Your back remains freezing. This is the duality of castle life. You're always burning on one side and freezing on the other. You have to rotate like a pig on a spit just to maintain a median body temperature. A figure approaches from the shadows. It's the steward. He wears a chain of office and a look of perpetual exhaustion. "My lord," he says, "can you not sleep?" "It's cold, Edric." "It is winter, my lord," he replies, as if that explains everything. "Shall I fetch you some wine? Is it warm? It can be heated." He goes to a side table and pours dark red wine into a metal cup. He places the cup near the fire. While it warms, you look around your kingdom. Stone. Everywhere stone. It is beautiful in a brutal way. The arches, the pillars, it screams power. But power is cold. You realise that the peasant in the mud hut might actually be warmer than you. His hut is small. His body heat fills it. His animals sleep next to him. Here, the space is your enemy. You're trying to heat a cathedral with a campfire. The steward hands you the cup. It's hot. You drink. The wine is spiced, cinnamon, cloves, honey. It masks the fact that the wine itself is starting to turn to vinegar. "The wood supply is low, my lord," Edric mentions casually. "The roads are blocked by snow. The carts cannot get through. So we freeze. We ration. The kitchen fires take priority. We must eat." Priorities. How long until the thaw? March, perhaps, or April. It is January. You stare into the fire. 2 more months of this. 2 more months of seeing your breath in your bedroom. 2 more months of wearing 3 layers of wool just to use the privy. Speaking of the privy, the call of nature is universal, regardless of rank. "I need the garderobe," you say. Edric nods and hands you a candle. "Mind the draught, my lord. It's vicious tonight." You leave the warmth of the fire. You walk down a long stone corridor. The wind whistles through the arrow slits. You reach the door to the privy chamber. You open it. The wind hits you like a physical slap. The garderobe is essentially a stone bench with a hole in it, jutting out over the castle wall. There is no water trap, there is no seal. It is a direct open shaft to the freezing air outside. You sit. The air rushing up the shaft is sub-zero. It creates a wind tunnel effect that is brisk. You do your business as fast as humanly possible. You wipe with a piece of wool cloth, better than a sponge on a stick, but still not exactly plush. You stand up, shivering violently. You are literally exposing your most vulnerable parts to an Arctic gale. This is luxury. This is the height of medieval technology. You hurry back to the Great Hall, your teeth chattering. You sit by the fire again. You drink the rest of the wine. You look at Edric. "Tell me," you say, "why do we build them like this?" "For safety, my lord. To keep the enemy out." "The enemy," you mutter. "The enemy is the weather." Edric doesn't laugh. He just throws another log on the fire, a small log. He's rationing. You stay there until the log burns down. Then, knowing you can't sleep in the hall like a commoner, you head back up the spiral stairs. The wind howls, the stone sweats. You climb back into your cold bed. You pull the furs over your head. You're a noble, you're rich, you're powerful, and you are miserable. You close your eyes and try to dream of summer, of sun on stone, of heat. But the castle doesn't dream. It just endures. And so do you. Welcome to the high life. Morning in the castle brings no relief, only visibility. Now you can see how cold you are. Light filters through the arrow loops, thin, grey and weak. It illuminates the frost that has formed inside your room, a delicate, glittering pattern of ice on the stone wall next to your head. Your water basin is frozen solid. You have to break the surface with the handle of your dagger just to wash. Your face. The water is so cold it burns. You dress. Or rather, your servants dress you. This is a process that takes 20 minutes and involves so many layers you feel like a walking laundry basket. Linen shirt, wool hose, padded doublet, heavy velvet robe lined with fur, a hood, gloves. You're a noble and you're swaddled like a baby. You descend to the great hall for the morning meal. It is crowded now. The household is awake. Knights are sharpening swords. Servants are sweeping the rushes. Dogs are fighting over bones. The noise is deafening. The acoustics of stone walls amplify every sound. A dropped spoon sounds like a gunshot. A barking dog sounds like a dragon. You sit at the high table, raised on a dais above the commoners. Breakfast is served. It is meat. Cold meat. Leftover roast from last night. Slices of beef congealed in their own fat. A loaf of fine white bread. Manchet, which is soft but cold. And ale. You eat mechanically. The grease coats your tongue. You look down at your people. They're eating dark bread and pottage. The pottage is steaming. For a second, you are jealous. Hot soup looks better than cold beef. But you are a lord. You have standards. You chew your cold cow and pretend to enjoy it. The day's business begins. You hold court. Tenants come to complain. My sheep are freezing. My roof collapsed under the snow. The wolves are getting bold. You listen. You nod. You make decisions. Double the feed. Send the carpenter. Organize a hunt. It is administrative work. Tedious. Endless. You sit on your wooden throne wrapped in furs, your feet resting on a foot warmer, a metal box filled with hot coals. It is the only part of you that is warm. Your breath mists as you speak. Next, a man is dragged in, a poacher, caught stealing wood from your forest. "I was cold, my lord," he weeps. "My children were freezing." You look at him. He is thin, ragged, shivering. You look at the massive fireplace behind you, consuming logs that could have heated his hovel for a week. The law is clear. Poaching is a crime, but the cold is a crime too. 10 lashes, you say, and give him a bundle of wood. Your steward looks at you surprised. "My lord? You heard me. Punishment and mercy keeps them confused." The man is dragged away, thanking you. You feel a strange hollowness. You are the law, you are the power, but you can't stop the winter. After court, you need to move. Sitting still is freezing. You go to the training yard. It is outside, in the snow. Knights are sparring. The clang of steel on steel rings out in the crisp air. You take a sword. It is heavy, cold iron. You spar with your captain. You move. You strike. You parry. Your breath comes in gasps. Your blood starts to pump. For the first time all day you are warm. Sweat breaks out under your layers. It feels good. You fight until your arms shake, until you are exhausted. "Well fought, my lord," the captain says, panting. You nod. You feel alive. But then you stop, and the sweat begins to cool. It turns clammy. It turns icy. The chill sets in instantly, deeper than before, because now you are wet. Inside, you command. Now. You rush back into the castle, shivering violently. You have to change. All those layers stripped off and replaced. It takes another 20 minutes. By the time you're dressed again, the sun is already setting. The winter day is short. The darkness returns. Dinner is a feast. This is where the castle shines. The great hall is lit by hundreds of torches. The fire is roaring now, piled high with logs. Tables groan under the weight of food. Roast swan, venison pie, boiled pudding. You eat. You drink spiced wine. You listen to a minstrel play the lute. The heat from the fire battles the cold from the walls. You are warm on the outside, full on the inside. The noise, the light, the food, it creates an illusion of safety. For a few hours you forget the snow, you forget the wolves, you forget the poacher. But then the meal ends, the torches burn down, the fire banks, the guests leave. You're left alone in the vast, shadowing hall. The cold creeps back. It was always there, waiting in the corners. You stand up. Your feet are cold again. Bed, Edric, you say. Yes, my lord. You climb the stairs. The wind howls. You enter your room. The frost is still on the wall. You climb into bed. You are rich. You are powerful. And you're just a man in a stone box waiting for the sun. But tonight, as you drift off, you hear something new. A scratch. Not a rat. Louder. It is coming from the window, from the arrow loop. You sit up. Is it an assassin? A thief? No, a bird. A small brown bird has squeezed through the slit, seeking shelter from the storm. It flutters around the room, panicked, banging against the tapestries. You watch it. It lands on the foot of your bed. It puffs up its feathers, shivering. It is looking for warmth. Just like you, you stay very still. The bird settles. It tucks its head under its wing. It sleeps. You smile. You are the lord of the castle, and tonight you are guarding a sparrow. It's not much, but it's something. You close your eyes. The wind howls, the stone freezes, but inside the room, 2 hearts are beating, and that creates a little bit of heat. The bird is gone in the morning. You wake to find a small white dropping on the footboard of your bed. A parting gift. You feel unreasonably sad about it. It was the only guest who didn't want anything from you, except a corner out of the wind. Today is Sunday, the Lord's Day. In the castle, this means chapel. The chapel is beautiful. Stained glass windows, vaulted ceiling, an altar covered in gold cloth. It is also the coldest room in the entire fortress. The priest's breath fogs as he chants the Latin Mass. His hands, holding the chalice, are blue with cold. The choir boys are shivering in their thin surplices, their high voices trembling on the notes. You kneel on a velvet cushion. Your knees ache. The stone floor beneath the cushion is ice. You look at the stained glass. It depicts saints burning in fire, martyrs being boiled in oil. You think, at least they were warm. It's a blasphemous thought. You push it away. You pray for a thaw. You pray for the wood supply. You pray that the poacher's children are warm. Ite missa est, the priest intones. Deo gratias, you murmur. Thanks be to God. Mostly thanks that it's over. After chapel, you retreat to the solar. This is the Lord's private room. It faces south to catch the sun. It has a fireplace. It has glass in the windows. It is the only room in the castle that approaches comfort. Your wife, the lady, is there. She's sitting by the fire, embroidery in her lap. She's wearing so many furs she looks like a bear. My lord, she says, not looking up. My lady. You sit opposite her. The steward tells me the wine is turning, she says. It is. And the salt beef is getting hard. It is. And the pages are complaining of chilblains. They are, she sighs. I hate winter. I know. You sit in silence. This is medieval marriage. It's not romance. It's a partnership in endurance. You are co-managers of a freezing corporation. Play chess, you offer, if you like. You set up the board, ivory pieces, kings and queens and knights. You play. The fire crackles. The light shifts across the board. For an hour, the war is small. It is contained on 64 squares. No one dies. No one starves. Check, she says. You look. Your king is trapped. Well played. She smiles. A real smile. I learned from my father. He hated winter too. Lunch is brought to the solar. Hot soup, bread, cheese. You eat together. It is intimate, just the two of you and the fire. Do you think the bird made it? You ask suddenly. What bird? Nothing, just a sparrow. She looks at you curiously. You're strange today. It's the cold. It freezes the brain. The afternoon is spent in administration. Letters to write, accounts to check. You use a quill. The inkpot has to be kept near the fire or the ink freezes. You write to the king. My liege, the border is quiet, the snow is deep. We await your command. It is a lie. You don't await anything but spring. You seal the letter with wax. The hot wax smells of pine. You hand it to a courier. He looks miserable. He has to ride through the snow to London. Godspeed, you say. Thank you, my lord. He leaves. You don't envy him. That evening, there is entertainment. A juggler has arrived, travelling with a merchant caravan that got stuck in the snow. He performs in the great hall. He juggles knives, he juggles fire. The fire juggling is popular. Everyone leans forward, craving the heat, craving the danger. He drops a torch. It rolls toward a pile of rushes. For a second, there is panic. A guard stamps it out. The juggler bows, apologetic. Careful, fool, you shout. We need the heat, not the inferno. The crowd laughs. Tension breaks. The juggler finishes his set. You toss him a coin. Stay the night, you say. Sleep in the kitchen? It's warm? He bows low. You're generous, my lord. Generous. Or maybe you just want someone else to juggle the fire tomorrow. You go to bed. The bird is not there. But the room feels slightly less empty. You think about your wife. You think about the chess game. You think about the poacher with his wood. You realise that even here in the stone box there are threads connecting you to life. Small threads, fragile threads. But they hold. You pull the furs up. Tomorrow is Monday, another week of winter. But you have ink. You have fire. You have a king to protect, even if only on a chessboard. You are the lord, and you will endure. But let's shift gears. Let's leave the castle. Let's leave the city. Let's go to the one place where winter is not an enemy, but a business partner. Let's go to the monastery. You wake up to a bell, of course. But this bell is different. It is deep, resonant, and authoritative. It is 2 Cantor a.m., matins, the night office. You're a monk, a Benedictine. You sleep in a dormitory with 20 other men. You sleep in your habit, your robe. It is wool, thick and heavy. You get up. You don't speak. The great silence is in effect from Compline until prime. You walk in a line with your brothers to the church. It is cold, yes. The cloister garden is buried in snow. The wind whips around the pillars. But you don't mind the cold, because you have purpose. You are not fighting the winter, you are ignoring it. You enter the choir, you take your stall. You begin to chant, Domine, labia mea aperis. Lord, open my lips. The sound fills the dark church. 20 voices blending into one. It is hypnotic. It is powerful. The cold falls away. The hunger falls away. You are part of a machine made of prayer. And for the next hour you are warm with something that isn't fire. The chanting ends. The silence returns. Heavier now, loaded with the echo of the psalms. You file out of the church, back into the cloister. The snow reflects the moonlight, casting long blue shadows across the stone arches. You have 3 hours until Lauds, the next service at dawn. Some monks go back to bed. You don't. You go to the scriptorium. This is the pride of the monastery. It is where the books are made. It is also the only room, other than the kitchen and the infirmary, that is allowed a fire, not a big fire, just enough to keep the ink from freezing and the fingers from locking up. You sit at your desk. It is slanted, made of oak worn smooth by centuries of elbows. You open the book you're copying. A psalter. The parchment is calfskin, scraped thin and white. It smells of lime and chalk. You pick up your quill. You dip it in the inkhorn. The ink is made from oak galls and iron salts. It is black as midnight. You begin to write. Beatus vir qui non habet. Blessed is the man who walks not. The work is tedious. It requires absolute focus. One mistake, one slip of the hand, and a whole page of expensive vellum is ruined. You have to scrape it clean with a razor and start over. But it is also meditative. As you form the letters, the sharp Gothic script, the delicate curves, you fall into a trance. The world outside disappears. The winter disappears. There is only the line, the ink, the word. You're not just copying, you are preserving. You're taking the thoughts of men long dead and carrying them forward into the future. You're a time traveller. Your hand cramps. You flex your fingers. You hold them near the small candle flame to warm them. A brother next to you is illuminating a capital letter. He's painting a tiny dragon eating its own tail in gold leaf. Why a dragon? Why here? In a holy book. He catches your eye and winks, because even monks get bored. Because even in the word of God there is room for a little monster. You work until the bell rings for lauds. The sun is coming up now, a pale, watery light filtering through the scriptorium windows. You put down your quill. You close the book. You have written 20 lines. It doesn't seem like much, but those 20 lines will last for 500 years. You walk back to the church. The day begins. Work, prayer, work, prayer. You work in the garden, breaking the frozen earth with a pickaxe. You work in the kitchen, stirring vats of bean stew. You work in the infirmary, changing bandages on old men with ulcers. It is a hard life, a simple life, but it is a secure life. You have food, you have clothes, you have a roof. You don't have to worry about rent. You don't have to worry about the price of wood. You don't have to worry about soldiers or taxes. You have traded your freedom for safety. And in the winter, that is a very good trade. Lunch is eaten in silence. A reader stands at a lectern, reading from the lives of the saints. Today, it is St. Lawrence. He was roasted on a gridiron. "Turn me over," he famously said. "I am done on this side." You stifle a smile into your bread. Medieval humour is dark. The food is simple: bread, cheese, ale. But it is plentiful. The monastery has lands, it has tenants, it collects tithes. You are not starving. You look around the refectory. Your brothers are a mixed bunch. Some are pious, some are lazy, some are hiding from the world. There is Brother John, who used to be a knight. He has a scar across his face and nightmares that make him scream in the dormitory. There is Brother Thomas, who was a merchant's son. He is good with numbers but bad with humility. There is Brother William, who is simple. He talks to the bees. You are a family, a strange celibate, bald family. After lunch, there is a period of free time. You go to the warming room. This is exactly what it sounds like. A room with a massive fire where monks are allowed to sit and thaw out. It is crowded. Monks are reading, sewing, or just staring into the flames. You sit on a bench. The heat soaks into your wool habit. It smells of damp cloth and unwashed men. Brother. William sits next to you. "The bees are sleeping," he whispers. "They are clustered in a ball to keep the queen warm." "That is good," you say. "We are like the bees," he says, "clustered around God." You look at the fire. You look at the monks. He's right. You are a hive. You have a purpose. You have a queen, or a king. And you are surviving the winter by sticking together. Evening comes, vespers, compline. The sun sets. The cold returns. You go back to the dormitory. You lie on your pallet. It is straw, like the peasants, but the wool blanket is thicker. You close your eyes. You listen to the wind howling around the bell tower. You think about the castle. You think about the city. They are fighting the winter. You are waiting it out. You have books. You have silence. You have the bees. You drift off. Tomorrow you will write another 20 lines. You will pray another 7 times. You will eat another bowl of beans. It is a good life, a quiet life. And in a world of chaos, quiet is the ultimate luxury. But wait. The silence is broken. A pounding on the monastery gate. Loud. Frantic. Boom. 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 It is the middle of the night. No one comes to the monastery at this hour unless it is death or war. You hear the porter running. The creak of the heavy gate opening. Voices shouting. "Sanctuary! In the name of God, sanctuary!" You sit up. The other monks are stirring. The abbot enters the dormitory with a torch. "Brothers," he says, his voice grave, "rise. We have guests." You get up. You follow the abbot to the gatehouse. There, in the courtyard, illuminated by the torchlight, is a group of people. Not soldiers, not nobles, peasants, men, women, children, carrying bundles, their eyes wide with terror. "What is it?" you whisper to Brother John. "The village," he says, sniffing the air. "Smell the smoke?" You sniff. It's faint, but it's there. Wood smoke, not hearth smoke, burning house smoke. "Raiders?" you ask. "No," John says, his knight's eyes scanning the darkness. "Not raiders." "Then what?" "The Baron," a peasant gasps, stepping forward. "He burned us out. Said we were poaching, said we were hiding grain." The Baron. the lord of the castle, the man you were just 2 chapters ago, he burned the village to save wood. To punish them? Or just because he could? The abbot looks at the peasants. There are 50 of them. The monastery has food, but not for 50 extra mouths all winter. We have no room, the senior monk whispers to the abbot. We will starve. The abbot looks at the children shivering in the snow. He looks at the smoke rising in the distance. He looks at you. Open the barn, he says. Bring blankets, bring soup. But father, open the barn, he roars. Well, what is this for? What are the prayers for? You run. You grab blankets. You carry pots of soup from the kitchen. You usher the peasants into the great tithe barn. It smells of grain and dust. You hand out bread. You hand out ale. You see a woman holding a baby. The baby is silent, blue with cold. You take off your own heavy wool cloak. You wrap it around them. Warmth, you say. She looks at you. Thank you, brother. You stand there, shivering in your tunic. You realize something. The quiet life is over. The hive has been breached. The world has come crashing through the gates. And now you have to decide. Are you a monk who hides from the world, or are you a monk who serves it? You look at Brother John. He is organizing the men, setting a watch. The soldier is back. You look at Brother William. He's talking to a child about bees. You look at your hands, ink-stained, cold. You grab a bucket of water. Who needs a drink, you shout. The work begins. The winter just got harder, but the purpose just got real. You wake up in the hayloft of the tithe barn. You gave up your cell to a family of 5. The hay is warmer than the dormitory pallet, honestly, but it's also itchier, and you woke up with a piece of straw up your nose. Below you, the barn is a sea of humanity. 50 peasants, plus the monks, plus the usual barn residents, 2 cats and an owl. It's loud. Babies are crying, people are coughing, arguments are breaking out over blanket distribution. This is not the monastic silence you signed up for. You climb down the ladder. Brother Thomas, the merchant's son, is standing by the door with a ledger, looking panicked. We have enough flour for 3 weeks, he mutters, scribbling furiously. If we cut rations to half a loaf a day, and if the rats don't get into the sacks, and if no one else arrives. 3 weeks, you ask? Winter has 2 months left. Exactly, we need a miracle, or a supply run. A supply run, in deep snow, to the nearest market town which is 10 miles away. I'll go, Brother John says, appearing from the shadows. He's wearing his habit, but he has belted it up like a tunic, and he is carrying a heavy walking stick that looks suspiciously like a quarterstaff. I know the roads. I can hunt on the way. I'll come too, you say. You don't know why. Maybe you're tired of the noise. Maybe you want to see the world again. Or maybe you just want to be useful. The abbot nods. Go, take the mule. Buy grain, dried peas, anything that keeps. He hands Thomas a purse of coins. Use the reserve. The reserve. The money saved for repairing the church roof. God will provide a roof, the abbot says, seeing Thomas's expression. He won't provide grain if we don't buy it. You set out an hour later. You, Brother John, and a mule named Balaam, who seems to have taken a vow of stubbornness rather than silence. The world outside the monastery walls is white and silent. The snow is knee-deep. The trees are skeletal black fingers scratching at the grey sky. It is beautiful. It is deadly. You trudge through the drifts. Brother John walks ahead, breaking the trail. He moves with a soldier's efficiency, conserving energy, scanning the horizon. Watch the tree line, he says. Wolves and men. Which is worse? Men. Wolves only kill you if they're hungry. Men do it for sport. You walk for hours. The cold seeps through your layers. Your breath freezes in your beard. You pass the burned village. It is a scar on the snow. Blackened timbers, collapsed roofs. A dog is sitting by a ruined chimney howling. God help them, you whisper. God helps those who have stone walls, John says grimly. The Baron did this. To save firewood, he said. Burn the village, claim the wood from the forest they managed. Can we stop him? We are monks, brother. We pray. We don't fight. He grips his staff tighter. Usually. You reach the market town by mid-afternoon. It is crowded. Refugees from other villages are here too. The prices are sky high. Grain is double what it was in autumn. Dried peas are worth their weight in silver. Thomas haggles with a merchant. He is good. He uses guilt, theology, and threats of divine retribution. You would starve the brides of Christ? He asks, referring to the nuns in the sister convent, though you're buying for everyone. I have children to feed too, monk, the merchant shoots back. Eventually they settle. You load Balaam with sacks of grain and baskets of dried beans. The mule groans but accepts the burden. You start the long walk back. The sun is setting. The temperature is plummeting. You're halfway home when you hear it. A whistle, not a bird, a signal from the trees. Brother John stops. He pushes you and the mule behind him. Stay close! 3 men step out of the woods. They are ragged, desperate. They hold axes and clubs. Charity, brothers, the leader rasps. Share the load. They aren't bandits. They are starving peasants, the same people you're trying to save. This is for the monastery, John says, his voice calm. For the refugees. We're refugees too, the man says. Give us the mule. They step closer. You freeze. This is it. Violence. John lifts his staff. He doesn't look like a monk anymore. He looks like a warrior, but then he lowers it. He reaches into the sack on the mule's back. He pulls out 3 loaves of hard bread you bought for the journey. Here, he says, take it. But the grain stays. The man looks at the bread. He looks at John's staff. He looks at the starving men behind him. He takes the bread. God bless you, he mutters. Then he signals his men, and they vanish back into the trees. You let out a breath you didn't know you were holding. You could have beaten them, you say. Yes, John says, but then I would have had to bury them, and the ground is too hard for digging. You make it back to the monastery gates by moonlight. The abbot is waiting. The peasants are waiting. You unload the grain. It's not enough for the whole winter, but it's enough for now. There is a cheer, a small, tired cheer. Soup is made. Bread is baked. You sit in the barn, exhausted. You eat your share, a small bowl of bean pottage. It tastes amazing. Brother William sits next to you. The bees are quiet tonight, he says. Good. They know we're safe. You look around the barn. The families are sleeping. The monks are praying. The fire is burning. You're not safe. The food will run out. The Baron might come back. The winter is still long, but you are together. And in the medieval world, that is the only safety there is. The weeks pass. The routine of the siege, because that's what it is, a siege by winter, settles in. You learn to ration. You learn to ignore the hunger pangs. You learn to sleep through the crying of babies. You also learn about your guests. The woman you gave your cloak to is named Alara. She was a weaver. She teaches you how to mend the heavy wool habit so they last longer. The trick is the tension, she says, guiding your clumsy hands. Too tight it puckers, too loose, the wind gets in. She tells you about her village, about the festivals, about the Baron's taxes. You tell her about the scriptorium, about the books. What's the point of writing books no one reads, she asks. So they aren't forgotten, you say. We aren't in books, she says, and we will be forgotten. You look at her. You look at the children playing in the straw. I'll write you down, you promise. That night in the scriptorium you break the rules. Instead of copying the Psalter, you take a scrap of vellum and you write. In the year of our Lord, 1284, the snow was deep. Alara the weaver came to us. She has blue eyes and hands that know the wool. Her son is named Thomas. He likes apples. It's not Holy Scripture, it's just a record. But as you write, you feel a different kind of holiness, the holiness of witness. February arrives, the month of wolves. The snow is so high it blocks the lower windows. The monastery is an island in a white sea. Sickness comes. Of course it does. Coughing. Fever. The infirmary fills up. Brother William gets sick. He lies on his pallet, wheezing. The bees, he whispers. Check the bees. You go out to the hives. They are covered in snow. You clear the entrances. You tap on the wood. A faint hum answers. They are alive. You go back and tell him. He smiles. He dies the next morning. You bury him in the frozen earth. It takes 3 hours to dig the grave. You're sad, but you're also numb. Death is just another chore in winter. March. The wind changes. It smells of mud. The thaw begins. It is messy. The snow turns to slush. The courtyard floods. The barn leaks. But it is warm. The peasants start to leave. They pack their bundles. They thank the abbot. They thank you. Alara hands you back your cloak. It is clean, mended. Thank you, brother. Where will you go? Back, rebuild, it's what we do. She walks out the gate holding her son's hand. You watch them go. The barn is empty. Silence returns. You go back to the scriptorium, you open your book, you pick up your quill, you look at the scrap of vellum where you wrote her name, you tuck it into the binding of the psalter, hidden, safe. 500 years from now, a historian might find it. They might wonder who Alara was, or they might miss it. It doesn't matter. You know, you dip your quill. Beatersver, blessed is the man, blessed is the survivor, blessed is the spring. And now, let's zoom out one last time. From the monastery, back to the castle, back to the city. The snow is melting everywhere. The lord of the castle rides out to hunt. He is fat, bored, and happy. He doesn't think about the poacher. The watchman in the city hangs up his lantern. The nights are shorter now. He has survived another season. The rat in the cellar grooms his whiskers. He has eaten well. The world wakes up. The green shoots push through the mud. The lambs are born. The cycle turns. You have lived through the dark. You have lived through the cold. You have lived through the hunger. And now you are here, in your warm room, in your comfortable chair, with your screen glowing. You are the end of the story. For now, because winter always comes back. But so does the spring. Sleep well. You've earned it. And remember, if you hear a scratch at the window, let the bird in. He's just trying to survive, same as you. Now, let's step back in time even further. Before the castles, before the monasteries, before the city watchmen patrolled the muddy streets of London. Let's go to a place where winter wasn't just a season. It was a god. You're in Scandinavia. It is the Viking Age, around 900 AD, and you are not a warrior. You are not a jarl. You are a thrall, a slave. You wake up in the longhouse. It is dark, smoky, and smells of livestock. The longhouse is essentially one giant room where everyone sleeps. The jarl, his family, the free farmers, carls, the thralls, and the animals. You're sleeping near the cows. It's the warmest spot, honestly. The heat radiating off a sleeping cow is better than any blanket. But the smell, manure, wet fur, and fermenting hay, is intense. Your job starts before the sun even thinks about rising. In fact, the sun won't rise for hours. This is the north. The days are short, barely a few hours of grey twilight before the darkness swallows the world again. You crawl out from under your sheepskin. The dirt floor is frozen hard. You are barefoot. Your first task is the fire. The central hearth runs the length of the longhouse, a trench of stones filled with embers. If this fire dies, everyone freezes. You feed it dried peat and driftwood. Wood is scarce here. You save the good timber for ships. Peat burns slow and smoky, filling the air with a thick, earthy haze that stings your eyes and coats your lungs. But it's heat. The smoke drifts up to the roof, seeking the vents, but most of it hangs in the rafters where the dried fish are stored. The fish, stockfish, are hard as rock and smell of salt in the sea. They are your main food source for the next 4 months. You grab a bucket. You have to break the ice on the water barrel to get water for the morning porridge. The ice is thick today, a solid inch. You use a stone to smash it. The water is so cold it makes your fingers ache instantly. You start the porridge. Barley, water, maybe a handful of dried berries if you're lucky. It's grey, lumpy and tasteless, but it fills the belly. The household begins to stir. The Jarl wakes up on his raised platform, wrapped in furs imported from Russia. He stretches, scratches his beard, and yells for ale. You bring it to him. He doesn't look at you. To him, you are just a pair of hands. You look at his sword hanging on the wall. It is iron, pattern-welded, sharp. You look at your hands. They are rough, cracked from the cold. You are property. But you are also the one keeping the fire alive. There is a power in that if you look for it. The day's work is brutal. You're sent out to the barn to tend the sheep. The wind outside is ferocious. It screams off the ocean, carrying ice crystals that scour your skin like sand. You wrap your wool tunic tight. It's old, mended a dozen times, and smells of lanolin. You wear leather shoes stuffed with dried grass for insulation. It works, mostly. The sheep are huddled together in the dark barn. Their breath mists in the cold air. You feed them hay, check their hooves. One ewe is pregnant, you have to watch her. A winter lamb is a risk. If it's born now, it might freeze. You spend hours in the barn. It's boring, cold, and lonely. You talk to the sheep. You tell them stories you heard the skald, the poet, tell in the hall last night. Stories of Thor fishing for the Midgard serpent. Stories of Loki turning into a mare. The sheep chew and listen. They are good audience members. When you return to the longhouse, your hands are numb. You hold them near the fire, wincing as the feeling returns. The hot aches, they call it. It feels like your fingers are burning. Lunch is dried fish. You have to chew it for 10 minutes just to soften it enough to swallow. It tastes like salt and endurance. The afternoon is spent repairing nets. The Vikings are sailors, raiders, traders. But in winter, the ships are beached, covered in tarpaulins to protect them from the snow. The nets need mending. It is detailed work. Your fingers are clumsy with the cold. The Jarl sits by the fire, playing Nefertafel, a board game, with his son. They laugh, drink mead, and bet silver arm rings. You watch them. Move your king, you whisper to yourself. He's trapping you in the corner. The Jarl moves his king. He falls into the trap. You smirk. You might be a slave, but you're not stupid. Night falls around 3 p.m. The longhouse becomes a world of shadows and firelight. This is the time for stories. The Skald takes his place. He has a lyre. He begins to sing. He sings of battles, of blood on the snow, of gods who die. The Vikings don't believe in a happy ending. They believe in Ragnarok, the end of the world. The sun will be eaten by a wolf. The earth will sink into the sea. The gods will fall. It's a grim theology. But it suits the landscape. When you live in a place where the winter tries to kill you every year, you don't believe in eternal paradise. You believe in fighting until the end. You listen to the song. You feel a strange kinship with these fierce, doomed gods. You are fighting too. Fighting the cold, fighting the hunger, fighting the despair of being owned. But you're still here. You look around the hall. The faces are illuminated by the fire. Scarred warriors, tired women, wide-eyed children. For a moment, the hierarchy dissolves. Everyone is just a human huddled against the dark. The song ends. The Jarl tosses a silver ring to the Skald. "Well sung," he roars. "Drink." Horns of ale are passed around. Even you get a sip. It's strong, sweet with honey. It warms you all the way down. You curl up near the cows again. You close your eyes. You dream of summer, of green fjords, of the sun that never sets. You dream of a ship with a dragon head, and in the dream you're not rowing, you're steering. The next morning the storm hits. It's a blizzard, a whiteout. The wind shakes the longhouse, tearing at the turf roof. Snow piles up against the door, blocking it. You're trapped inside. For 3 days no one leaves. The air in the longhouse gets stale, thick with smoke and the smell of unwashed bodies. The animals get restless. The children get loud. The Jarl gets angry. He paces the hall like a caged bear. "We need wood," he growls. "The pile is low." It's true. The fire is dying down. Who will go? The warriors look at each other. No one wants to go out in that white hell. "Send the thrall," one suggests. All eyes turn to you. You know the risk. You could get lost in the snow 5 feet from the door. You could freeze. The trolls could get you, if you believe in trolls, which, in a blizzard, you definitely do. But you don't have a choice. "I'll go," you say. You wrap yourself in every scrap of fur you can find. You take a rope and tie one end to the doorpost and the other around your waist. A lifeline. You push open the door. The wind hits you like a hammer. It knocks the breath out of you. The snow is blinding. You crawl out. You pull the sled. You grope your way toward the woodpile, following the memory of where it should be. The cold is unimaginable. It burns. It feels like knives slicing your skin. You find the woodpile. It's buried under 4 feet of snow. You dig. Your hands are numb inside your mittens. You drag logs onto the sled. You turn back. You can't see the longhouse. The world is just white swirling chaos. You grip the rope. You pull. You drag the sled, step by agonizing step. You stumble. You fall. The snow wants to keep you. It feels warm, strangely. It whispers to you. Just sleep. Just rest. You shake your head. No. You pull. You reach the door. You pound on it. They open it. They drag you and the wood inside. You collapse on the floor, gasping, shivering violently. The Jarl looks at you. He looks at the wood. He nods. Good. That's it. No reward. No silver ring. Just good. But later, as the fire roars back to life, the Jarl's wife brings you a bowl of stew. It has extra meat in it. She doesn't say anything. She just hands it to you. You eat. The warmth returns. You look at the fire. You fed it. You kept the darkness at bay. You are a thrall. But tonight you are the most important person in the hall. You sleep deeply. You don't dream. You just exist. Spring comes late to the north, but when it comes, it is violent. The snow melts in torrents. The rivers swell. The waterfalls roar. The sun returns. The days get longer. The ships are uncovered. The tarps are pulled back. The wood is checked for rot. The Jarl is preparing for a raid. To England or Francia. He needs rowers. You, he says, pointing at you. You're strong. You survived the storm. You're coming. You stare at him. To go on a raid means danger. It means storms at sea. It means fighting men who want to kill you. But it also means leaving the farm. It means seeing the world. And sometimes thralls who fight well are given their freedom. Yes, Jarl, you say. You pack your meagre belongings. A knife, a cloak, a wooden spoon. You walk down to the fjord. The ship is beautiful, sleek, dangerous, carved like a predator. You take your place at the oar. The Jarl stands at the prow. Push off! You pull the oar. The ship glides into the dark water. You look back at the longhouse. It looks small from the water, a mound of turf in the green valley. You survived the winter. You survived the dark. Now, you face the sea. You pull. The rhythm of the rowing takes over. You're not just a survivor anymore. You're a voyager. And the horizon is wide open. The sea is not the land. You learn this in the first hour. The land is solid, even when it's frozen. The sea is a living, heaving thing that wants to kill you, not out of malice, but out of indifference. You are rowing. Your hands, already calloused from the farm, develop new blisters in new places. The rhythm is relentless. Stroke, stroke, stroke. The Jarl calls the time. The ship, the longship, is a marvel. It flexes with the waves. It rides high on the water. It feels like a living creature beneath you, but it is open. There is no deck below. You sleep on the planks between the rowing benches, wrapped in your sea cloak, a heavy wool blanket treated with animal fat to repel water. When it rains, you get wet. When the spray hits, you get wet. You are always wet. Your skin wrinkles, turns white, then raw. Salt sores develop where your wet clothes rub against your skin. You eat dried fish and hardtack, flatbread baked twice so it lasts forever. It is so hard you have to soak it in seawater to break it. You drink water from a cask that tastes of old wood and algae. This is the Viking life. This is the adventure the sagas sing about. It is miserable. But there is something else too. At night, when the wind dies down and the stars come out reflected in the black mirror of the ocean, it is breathtaking. You see the northern lights dancing overhead, green and purple ribbons. You see whales breaching, their massive bodies sleek and powerful. You feel small, but you also feel part of something huge. You are not a slave out here. The sea doesn't care about your status. If you don't pull your oar, the ship turns. If you don't bail the water, the ship sinks. You matter. You reach England. The coast appears as a grey line on the horizon. The mood on the ship changes. The men stop joking, they check their weapons, they put on their helmets. You're handed an axe. A wood-cutting axe, not a battle axe, but it has an edge. Stay behind the shield wall, the Jarl tells you. Guard the ship. You nod. The ship runs aground on the shingle beach. The warriors leap out, roaring. You stay with the ship, you and the other thralls. You watch the raid from a distance. Smoke rising from a village. Screams. The clash of iron. It is brutal. It is theft. It is murder. But it is also survival. The gold they take will buy grain for the winter. The iron they take will forge tools. The slaves they take. You look at the other thralls. You see the fear in their eyes. You wonder if you looked like that when you were taken. The warriors return. They are bloody, triumphant. They carry chests of silver, bundles of cloth, and frightened captives. You help load the ship. You avoid the eyes of the new slaves. You push off. The ship is heavier now. The rowing is harder, but you are heading home. The journey back is treacherous. A storm hits. The sky turns black. The waves rise like mountains. The ship is tossed like a toy. Water pours over the gunwales. Bail! The Jarl screams. You grab a bucket. You bail. You throw water out as fast as it comes in. Your arms burn. Your lungs burn. A wave crashes over you, knocking you down. You swallow salt water. You cough, sputtering. You think, this is it. I'm going to die here, drowned in the cold dark. But you don't stop bailing. You refuse to stop. The storm rages for 2 days. You don't sleep. You don't eat. You just bail. Finally, the wind drops. The sea calms. You are exhausted. You are bruised. You are alive. The Jarl walks down the centre of the ship. He looks at the exhausted crew. He looks at you. He puts a hand on your shoulder. You fought the sea thrall and you won. He takes a silver arm ring from his own arm. He hands it to you. For the bailing. You stare at the ring. It is heavy. It is wealth. Thank you, Jarl. When we land, he says quietly, you are a free man. You earned your place. You feel a shock go through you. Freedom. You look at the horizon. The coast of Norway is visible. Home, but not as a slave. As a man, you land. You build a farm. It is hard work. Clearing the land, building the house, raising the sheep. But it is your farm. The wood you cut warms your hearth. The food you grow fills your belly. You marry. You have children. You tell them stories, not stories of gods and monsters. Stories of the winter. Stories of the storm. Stories of the rat in the cellar and the bird in the castle and the fire on the ice. You tell them the world is hard, but we are harder. And now, let's bring it all back. The Viking, the monk, the lord, the watchman. They are all gone, dust and bones, but their DNA is in you. Their survival instinct is in you. The part of you that wakes up when you hear a noise at night, that's the watchman. The part of you that hoards food in the pantry, that's the Viking. The part of you that seeks quiet and peace, that's the monk. The part of you that shivers when the heating goes out, that's the lord. You are a collage of survivors. You're the end result of thousands of years of people refusing to die. So when you feel weak, remember them. Remember the cold. Remember the mud. Remember the hunger. And realize how strong you actually are. The fire is dying down now. The story is ending. The medieval world fades back into the mist. The castle walls crumble. The longships rot. The manuscripts turn to dust. But the feeling remains. The feeling of being safe, of being warm, of being here. Take a deep breath. Smell the clean air of your room. Feel the softness of your pillow. You made it. You are the survivor. Sleep well. The night is yours. Now let's shift one last time. Let's move forward, past the Vikings, past the medieval cities, past the Victorian factories. Let's land somewhere unexpected. Let's land in a place that seems completely different, but is driven by the exact same brutal mechanics of survival. You are in the trenches. 1916. The mud here isn't the organic muck of a London street. It's a chemical slurry of churned earth, cordite, and things you don't want to identify. You are a soldier, not a knight in shining armour, a grunt in khaki wool that is somehow always wet. It is winter again. History loves a winter. You're standing on the fire step staring out into no man's land. It is a wasteland of craters and barbed wire frozen into a jagged grey moonscape. The cold is different here. It's not just the air, it's the ground. The trench walls are frozen solid. If you lean against them, they suck the heat right out of your uniform. Your feet are numb. Trench foot. The skin turns white, then red, then black. You change your socks every chance you get, rubbing whale oil into your toes, praying they don't rot off. You are hungry, always. The rations are bully beef, tinned meat that tastes of salt and preservatives, and hard biscuits that can crack teeth. You soak them in tea that tastes of petrol because the water was brought up in old fuel cans. You crave something fresh, an apple, a leaf of lettuce, anything that hasn't been boiled or tinned to death. But mostly, you crave sleep. Real sleep. Not the dozing you do while leaning against a sandbag, jerking awake every time a shell lands. You want a bed, a clean, dry, warm bed. But you won't. Get it. Not tonight. A flare goes up. A star shell. It hangs in the sky, burning with a brilliant magnesium-white light. For a few seconds, the world is illuminated. You see the wire. You see the craters. You see the bodies of men who tried to cross and didn't make it. Then the darkness snaps back deeper than before. You hear a rat scuttling along the duckboards at the bottom of the trench. These rats are huge. Corpse rats. They are the only things thriving here. You don't even try to kill them anymore, you just kick them away. You look at the man next to you. He's asleep standing up. His face is grey, lined with exhaustion. He is 19, but he looks 40. "Wake up, Tommy," you whisper. "Sergeant's coming." He jolts awake. "I wasn't sleeping, just resting my eyes." "Sure." The rumble starts. Artillery. It starts low, like a thunderstorm on the horizon, then builds to a roar. The ground shakes, dirt rains down on your helmet. You huddle down, you make yourself small. This is the medieval siege, industrialized. Instead of catapults, it's howitzers. Instead of boiling oil, it's mustard gas. The gas alarm sounds, a clanging gong. Gas! Gas! You fumble for your mask. It's a rubber hood with glass eyepieces and a filter that smells of charcoal. You pull it on, you struggle to breathe. The world becomes a muffled, green-tinted tunnel. You sit there, listening to your own breathing, rasping in the filter. You wait. Survival is waiting. Survival is endurance. The shelling stops. The gas dissipates. You take off the mask. The air smells of garlic and onions. The scent of mustard gas. You check your gear. You check your limbs. You're still whole. Another hour survived. Dawn breaks. Stand to. Everyone on the fire step, rifles ready, waiting for an attack that might come with the sun. The sky turns pink. It is perversely beautiful. The light catches the frost on the barbed wire, making it sparkle like diamond necklaces. No attack comes, just the stand-down order. "Breakfast," the sergeant yells. You sit on a firing crate, you open a tin of jam. Tickler's plum and apple. It contains neither plums nor apples, mostly just turnips and sugar. You spread it on a biscuit. It is sweet. It is energy. You eat. You watch a lark fly up from the ruined field behind the lines. It sings high and clear, oblivious to the war. For a second you forget where you are. You're back in a field in England, or France, or wherever home is. Then the lark dives back down. The illusion breaks. You're in the trench, but you are alive. You look at your hands, dirty, scarred, shaking. These are the hands of a survivor, just like the hands of the watchman, just like the hands of the Viking. The tools change, spear to pike to rifle. The enemy changes, wolf to plague to gas. But the human inside the gear, the human shivering in the cold, hungry for a meal, desperate for sleep, that human is the same. That human is you. You finish your biscuit. You drink the last. Of your tea. "Right," you say to Tommy. "Let's clean the rifles." Routine. Routine saves you. You strip the weapon. You oil the bolt. You check the action. You focus on the small things. The click of metal. The smell of oil. The warmth of the sun on your back. You don't think about tomorrow. You don't think about next week. You think about now. You are here. You are warm, for now. You are fed, barely. You are winning. And as the sun climbs higher, melting the frost on the parapet, you close your eyes for a second and just breathe. In, out, alive, alive. And now we return to the present. The trenches are gone, filled in with earth and grass. The poppies grow over them. The medieval city is gone, buried under concrete and asphalt. The Viking longhouse is a ruin, a mound of turf in a quiet field. But the story isn't over. The story is sitting in your chair. The story is lying in your bed. You are the latest chapter. You might not be fighting wolves or dodging plague carts. You might not be bailing a longship in a storm. But you have your own winter. You have your own cold. Maybe it's the stress of a job that drains you. Maybe it's the loneliness of a quiet apartment. Maybe it's just the sheer, overwhelming noise of the modern world. But look at what you have. You have heat that comes with the touch of a button. You have light that banishes the dark instantly. You have water that is clean and clear and endless. You have food, so much food. You don't have to hunt it or grow it or steal it from a rat. You have a bed that is soft, a blanket that is clean, a room that is safe. These are miracles. Every single one of them is a miracle that your ancestors bled for. They survived the ice so you could have the fire. They survived the hunger so you could have the feast. They walked through the mud so you could walk on the pavement. So, tonight, as you close your eyes, don't just sleep. Feel. Feel the warmth of the blanket. Really feel it. It is a shield against the cold universe. Feel the softness of the pillow. It is a luxury kings would have killed for. Listen to the silence. The beautiful, safe silence. No wolves, no drums, no screams. just the hum of the world keeping you safe. You are the survivor, you are the victor, you made it. The long night of history is over, the sun has risen, and you are here to see it. Take a deep breath, inhale the safety, exhale the worry. Let the weight of the centuries drop off your shoulders, let the watchman rest, let the Viking sleep, let the soldier stand down. It is your turn to rest, the fire is banked, the door is bolted, the walls are strong, you are home. Good night.